It's a rigged system.
The system is totally rigged and broken. I was going to say
Hillary Clinton is a bigot.
I'll totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win. I know nothing about Russia.
The system is rigged. We're competing in a rigged election. It's a rigged election.
Are you saying you're not?
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists. I think I would probably get along very well with Putin.
And we're on.
Man, this one just doesn't have the same, such a smooth pour.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same resonance.
No, man. I want my old fucking coffee pot back. It actually sounded like I was taking a piss. I hope somebody driving listening to this just really had to pull over to fucking Hardee's. Hardee's, you can reach out to us for promotional ads at stonerspointpod@gmail.com.
I'm just thinking about the guy that's sitting in the middle of exits on the interstate. He's got 4 miles to the next exit. You got to pull off on the side.
Sitting there desperately looking for a Gatorade bottle.
One shower. Just cleaned his car out. And they're in the middle of Montana.
Oh, yeah.
Not a tree in sight. Or even worse, the one or two females that might actually be listening to us.
Yeah, bladder's already the size of an acorn.
Having to squat in the middle of the field in the interstate.
Oh, yeah.
No trees, no bushes, no nothing. Just and you're in a little two-door car.
They just run around to the passenger side with the air pump.
Doors to get a blockage, nothing.
Just run over there with an air pump or a tire gauge, act like you're checking the tire pressure.
All right, now if everybody's done with that, get back zipped up, get your panties pulled back up, and get back on your road, and or get back to work and quit fucking laughing so hard.
Yep. Speaking of urine, what we talking about today, Mike?
That's not a good segue to the Don. Well, it's a perfect segue to the Donfather. The man, the myth, the legend that he makes up for himself.
DJ Trump.
I think we need a soundboard before we go that route.
We tried it and it failed.
Yeah, considering this a-hole is, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Consider this gentleman is trying to run for office again. I think it's time that we kind of, say something to the few people that might actually be listening to us in this country to maybe let them know who the fuck they're thinking about.
And maybe our listeners outside the country, for instance, Belgium and what have you.
Shout outs.
Yeah. And give you a little bit of insight from people who aren't fucking, MAGAs.
Full disclosure, yes, I did vote for him in the first run. I was an ABC voter, anyone but Clinton. So yeah, the only option there to keep Clinton out was to put him in. Sorry, folks. I accept responsibility for my vote on that. But I honestly still believe that the outcome would have been worse the other way around.
I feel like it'd have been about the same, just in different areas.
I'll concede to that possibility, honestly, because I can't say for sure. It's just I did live through a Clinton administration before.
So did I, and I seemed that that part of my childhood was okay.
See, I think you remember Clinton kind of like I remember Reagan there.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I was a child then, but I do remember the stories that my parents and stuff were going through and all that, and I had to go up through the aftermath of it. I think you had the same thing with Clinton there.
Yeah. I will say, being an adult now, looking back at Clinton and some of the things I've learned, his involvement with the West Memphis 3 case and the Boys on the Track case and the cover-ups with drug dealers and all that crazy shit. I'm anti-Clinton in that regard. He should have never made it to office because he was a crook.
But fell out of all of our fucking manufacturing production jobs completely to Mexico and China.
Yeah.
He was pretty much directly responsible for the situation we found ourselves in after that.
I never thought it was a big deal he got his dick sucked and lied about it. I mean, who has not lied about getting their dick sucked?
That's actually one of his shining points in his presidency to me.
Yeah. Wow, look, a politician, that's a human being.
I mean, not if you look at it from a perspective that he's demeaning a woman, because of his power. No, I mean, there's that possibility there. No, I wouldn't agree with that. But the fact that the president is doing the same fucking thing that I would do. If some girl wanted to come up there and impress me by showing how good a fellatio she can be, I'm going to let it happen. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to use my power to influence you, but I'm definitely not going to say no. I'm like, hell yeah. Right. Well, why are you in court for this?
Again, I don't think matters of personal morality, as long as it involves adults, should have any bearing in court. But that's me.
Yeah, if they're both willing participants, we should stay out of it. Definitely should. Yeah, I gave high fives, pat on the back. He was my man that week.
But I almost voted for Kanye or Harambe that year. Looking back now, I'm glad it wasn't a vote for Kanye, because
I think we would have definitely been in a worse situation.
We would have been worse with Kanye than anyone else. Have you seen that The Rock might be running for president next cycle?
God.
I honestly, can you think of anything bad? The dude's actually a good dude.
We really need somebody.
Look, all our presidents are going to be actors anyway. Why not do something? Why not have an actor that's at least good?
Oh, yes, the third time's going to be the charm on this one.
They've all been pretenders since at least Kennedy.
Pretenders, yes. We're talking about professional actors here.
I mean, do the job you're...
You want to go that route? What's the guy that was the president of Independence Day? Get him. Put him in office. Yes, put him in office and have him act like a president.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. But he was a good president.
He was.
Yeah.
Okay, get somebody like him.
I honestly, I wouldn't mind the president from Rick and Morty.
Okay.
I want to play with a lightsaber too. I get it. You seen that episode?
Yeah. I'm sitting there thinking about, because he's got qualities of almost all of them.
All of them. Yeah, the
little Trump,
the Abraham,
a little Obama there, and no, it's not because it happens to be a person of color there, but he's got mannerisms and the speech pediments of Obama, the patterns there. He's kind of got a mindfulness of Biden and a little bit of hardcore assholeness of Reagan.
Yeah. Well, here we got Abraham Lincoln's slave coliseum. He didn't free them all. Oh man, yeah. So, yeah, Trump. Let's see. Where do you? I don't remember who I voted for, but I didn't vote for. I think I voted for Johnson. Wasn't that Johnson's year? Aleppo guy?
Aleppo guy? Yeah, that's why I couldn't vote for him.
I didn't give a shit about Aleppo, and I didn't blame him for not caring.
It was between that. That was what really made me just switch over to an ABC voter. Because I was anyone but Clinton. So I was like, maybe I can help push, this and join this. But then he come into TV way too fucking stoned to be on TV.
That's why I liked him.
I mean, I like him, and I'm okay with him being stoned. But I mean, you got to be able to know where you are.
He wasn't an outright fascist, and he didn't have a hand in covering up the crimes by the government in Waco.
But he had no idea what was going on around it.
To me, that's honest.
So was Trump.
No, hold on.
Trump was an honest being. Not saying that he was saying anything honest. I'm not saying he was truthful. He was an honest being. He was himself. He wasn't pretending to be a fucking thing else.
See, I believe that all of his life has been a pretend. Like,
wouldn't that make it the reality?
Well,
I say this because that kind of personally attacks me.
Look, I too wear a mask to exist in society, right? But so did BTK.
I wear a mask to exist in reality.
No, I do drugs to exist in reality.
That's part of the mask.
Well, Donald J. Trump was born June 14th, 1946.
But just as a clarification, the reason I voted for Trump is because I did not anybody else or write in. It's because I honestly thought that this one was critical enough that if I voted for anybody else, that it would take a vote away from Trump that would give him the win over Hillary. It was a mathematical thing.
Yeah, and I was like, look, I know I can't win with a third party candidate, but I can't in good conscience vote for a fascist or the piece of shit that covered up Waco. I can't do that.
I didn't see him as a fascist at that point because I didn't understand fascism well enough to include corporations and religion into fascism.
Yeah. What cemented my anti-Trump stance was his support from the evangelical community.
That didn't help. That put a bitter taste in my mouth. But
like I automatically oppose anybody they support.
From my perspective, and like I said, I still hold that perspective. The bitter taste, it was between lemon juice and fucking battery acid, bro. As far as the taste here,
I like lemon juice.
I do too, but it's kind of a sour taste. That's why I'm saying it's not something that you really go after.
Well. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I
could not stomach the thought of another Clinton term.
But I'll be honest, for the majority of his term, you did support him.
I supported free speech. I supported the Second Amendment. I supported the idea of renegotiating our trade agreements.
We're not talking about that.
And these were things that he was actually speaking on. And I do remember his earlier interviews. Like he had one with Oprah way back in the day when I was young and unemployed during other administrations, and watching daytime television. And when he was younger, and said if he ever did run during this, he actually did also say that if he did, he'd run as a Republican because those idiots would believe anything.
Yep.
It's true. And he did. He was honest. But he also gave some views on the way he would do things. And surprisingly enough, when he actually did run, he held true to that. He still held true to those core ideals. And so it kind of lent toward the fact that he would actually try that because he was consistent, at least, on that part. And I was okay with the things that he was looking to do. All right, cool. And, I haven't had a positive experience under a Democratic leadership in my lifetime.
I haven't had a positive experience.
Well, I'm not talking about from my own perspective. I'm talking on a general curve, in the grand think has anything trended upwards at any time during the. Now, I will say during Clinton, I did have a job. But the job ended during his presidency because that job got shipped to Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then afterwards, the housing crisis, I couldn't get in on the fucking loan because, by the time I got enough money to get to where I could afford a house, everything was boom. And then I found out that it was because of what he did that caused that shit to happen. And I'm like, God damn. So,
yeah.
I haven't seen positive trends come out of Democratic leadership outside of the humanitarian issues. So I tend to vote Republican. More on the side of just, if you look at Democrat, democracy, Republican, republic, as I would understand the word to mean.
They do not.
They don't on a political landscape, unfortunately, because I would definitely be more hardcore Republican then, because I believe in a republic over a democracy. I know that the Republican we have uses democratic processes, but it's not a democracy. Far from it. And that's a completely different discussion we can have another time.
Oh yeah, I would love to talk about direct democracy versus republic. I would love to.
Maybe we can educate some folks, maybe even in the news media, that these folks aren't hurting our democracy,
and that's
they're
another
hurting our processes.
And that's another cool opposition between me and you, right? Is because I'm very much a fucking direct democracy. That's it. Everybody has an appointed, temporary person who just basically is the Speaker of the House. But the House is every American citizen, right? Everybody gets to vote on what they want, yes or no. And at the end of the day, that weighs it out. If your vote is in the minority, well, shit. Do more to win people to your side.
Well, that's what the democratic process that we use is in our republic, but it does represent and gives them a chance to voice their opinion, but we can't discriminate against them and we can't take away rights from them because they're in the minority of it.
But you can't treat them any different.
Well, in a democracy, you could.
No, well, I guess that goes into the way the government's set up, right? With my anarchic views, the government's not really oppressing anybody, right? A person saying, yeah, I want taxes higher on this thing, or I want this road fixed, or whatever. That isn't going to oppress somebody. Now, if there's something coming up that, let's beat all the brown people, and it wins a majority of the vote, well, that should have never been brought to the fucking table. There should be an agreed upon thing there.
Example. Overall democracy, where every situation gets brought up to a vote. For popular vote of the entire country. Vote comes up. Everybody has to get rid of their cars. There's danger to public health, because of the environment and such, whatever. Valid reasons. We have to give up our cars and go to short-range transportation and use public transportation to get anywhere outside of our towns. Everybody loves this shit in New York and California, where they have massive transportation systems.
Well, then all we got to do is increase the mass transportation.
Yeah, that's all we got to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot, but it wouldn't be if, people weren't blocking it.
That's all we got to do. Exactly. Now, short-range transportation in rural towns, rural areas, what about the person that lives in the middle of no fucking where?
Well, I mean, that would have
you
to
can't have a vehicle that can drive more than 100 miles because the population, the vast majority of the population live in 3 fucking places. So those 3 places get to dictate the rules for the entire country because of like-minded herd mentality. Most of the people in that particular area are going to have the same mentality of the way things should be because they all exist in the same reality.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in rural Montana. what works there isn't going to work here. The way you think about people there is not the way people here think about people. The way you think about animals is not the way these people think about animals.
So, all right,
totally
say
different people.
What if instead of it being a mass transportation thing?
Well, it's not the thing. It's the point is you have to give up something. That's the point. Be it a car, be it your favorite color shirt, be it cigarettes, be it marijuana, be it whatever, be it whatever thing you want it to be. If the vast majority of the people in a full democracy say this is going to happen, then this happens, and you can't have that. Period. Regardless if you need that out here or not, because you don't live there where this works. Or where this mentality's fine. You know, to say you can't smoke anywhere but your own house in New York City is fine. Okay? Because the person standing 6 inches away from you on the sidewalk, you can still damage them. I'd be okay with something like that. It would suck ass, I get it, but I'd be okay with something like that because it is a public health safety issue. But the guy living in fucking Montana and ain't got a fucking person living within 100 miles of him.
Well, then who's going to complain?
Somebody happens to fucking drive down the road and see him light up, and some oh shit, he's fucking breaking the law. It happens. You know, I mean, who's going to complain about us smoking marijuana?
Almost nobody.
I've got a fucking charge on my record for smoking marijuana.
Well, yeah, different time. But yeah, so
that's the reason I don't like it. And I mean, it's a slippery slope conundrum, you know, when you try to take it to an extreme, of course, because you can always stop. So it's always a slippery slope argument to say what could happen in those situations.
Right. And I feel like
but it's not invalid because it's a fallacy, because the possibility could be true.
And my thing is, I feel like under a different system where more people had direct access to the things that were laws that happened, you'd have this law banning driving, right? But then people would see the need. There'd be an outcry. There'd be like, hey, we need help. And then they'd make amendments to that,
Well, I'm just saying, bro, if we were a full-on democracy, schools would still be segregated.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. Honestly, if we currently stand, we're a full-on democracy, we'd be run by the fucking evangelicals.
Yes.
So again, my worldview requires a lot of change.
That's why I go with the Republic, because it is a representative democracy. Unfortunately, our
representatives. Our representatives do not represent. That is the problem.
So we do have a problem. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's better than the alternative.
It was the same problem Rome had with their republic. You saw how they fixed that, right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of autocrats, Donald John Trump was born June 14th, 1946.
Sensation, he stabbed in the back by all of his peers.
Oh, no. I'd say more like, what happened to Caligula. They said enough is enough.
I wish more people would jump on that bandwagon, honestly.
The Let's Stop Caligula bandwagon?
Yeah, you dump Trump. That needs to be a bumper sticker.
It is. Yeah, it is. I've seen it. He was born at Jamaica Hospital in Queens, New York. He's the fourth child of Frederick Trump. Fred Trump is the son of German immigrants. So, had there been walls to stop immigration, maybe we wouldn't have a Trump. And, well...
But I bet you he had to take a test.
I'm not sure. During that time, I couldn't really tell you too much about, 1900s era, 1920 era fucking...
They were still going through Ellis.
Yeah, but, what kind of test did they take at Ellis, right? Was it just a quarantine for fleas. They just run them in. What's your name? Armani Windbreaker.
I'm pretty sure they didn't stop the where you had to know so much knowledge about the system, how the president's elected and the states, basic information, stuff like that.
Well, at that time, also we had
a whole hell of a lot. You had to know a little bit about the history and stuff like that. I mean,
maybe to become a full citizen, but to just come here and work, we wanted him.
Yeah, I don't know how he got in.
Yeah, but
I know he was an immigrant, but I don't know if he came in on a visa, an education visa, or I don't know if he fucking snuck in through Canada or whatever. I don't know.
This family had a traditional setup, where the oldest son got pretty much everything. Trump not being the eldest, being the fourth child, he was never the first choice, right?
Not even the youngest either.
No, he didn't get that. He didn't get to be the baby.
Forgetful ones.
Well, then I can't remember exactly what happened. His older brother basically lost favor with the family or died, and this kind of brought Donald up into the ranks, right?
Well, he died later. He wanted to be a pilot.
Yeah, he didn't want to.
A businessman
instead of a realist, instead of a fucking parasite.
He wasn't cutthroat enough. He didn't have it in him to run the family business.
So Trump is now.
He wanted to go out and fly aeroplanes like a fucking little.
Trump now is Daddy's second favorite.
Yeah, we're outside the 30 second. We can say fuck without getting monetized.
I don't care.
For any future thing.
Oh, I love money, but then again, everybody else gets to say fuck, shit, and damn with impunity. Why can't I?
Well, you can't do it within first 30 seconds. You get demonetized on most platforms.
Well, first 30 seconds was a coffee pour.
Yeah. That's first 30 seconds.
Actually, that's a pretty good plan. Shoot for 30 seconds. And then just at 31 seconds, fuck. So yeah, he's now Daddy's second choice, right? And then you think about that, like mentally, he's going to have that mentality. He's going to have to try and be bigger and better, to try and prove himself to Daddy, right? Because that's going to be in anybody's mentality that was a middle child like that.
Yeah, but what was that? I don't know if he got that mentality before or after he was in the military school, which would have hardened somebody up.
A little bit, but he did poorly at that. He was like a piece of shit at school.
Yeah, but he'd been in the military setting, even in
a little bit.
School.
But
that's even if you don't learn anything there, the mentality is still going to sink in when you're at that age.
Yeah,
how to behave is going to sink in at that age.
Well, he did not learn how to behave.
Who did he learn how to behave from?
Yeah, okay,
he learned how to behave.
That's fair. All behavior is behavior, right?
He learned how to behave.
I got you.
He just didn't learn how to behave in the way we would expect to be proper
for a president. Yeah,
especially for a president. I was just saying for a human.
Oh, God, I forgot my cigarettes.
Oh no! What kind of a person does something like that actually smokes cigarettes? You gonna forget something you're actually attached to like that?
Oh, even worse. My last cigarette.
Oh man!
When the vape doesn't cut it.
Yeah. Well, I got 3, so we should be able to at least make it through the recording. Hopefully, I don't know. This one might go long.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Because we haven't even got to the controversial shit. What do you know about his shit with the draft during Vietnam?
I think he kind of got some doctor to say that he couldn't walk.
Yeah. Of course, it doesn't say it here on his on the Wikipedia page, but the doctor that
classified, conditional medical.
Far as his schooling goes, during his high school and college, his Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer in 2015, basically said he was going to sue everybody in the fucking world if they release Trump's academic record. So we know very little other than that he was a poor student. He claimed later to be a great student, and well, that was one of many lies. While in college, Trump obtained 4 student draft deferments during the Vietnam War era, which basically every year he was like, hey, I'm in college, and they would say he didn't have to go to Vietnam. After he was done with college, he was deemed fit for military service by the military. And then the local draft board said, okay, it's eligible to serve. Just a couple months later, he was classified 1Y, a conditional medical deferment, and in 72 he was reclassified 4F due to bone spurs in his foot. So the doctor that helped him get that 1Y classification and that 4F classification was actually like a friend of his dad's. So nepotism there, a little bit of nepotism. And I mean, like, I don't particularly fault him necessarily for that. I would have dodged the draft too.
Yeah, I mean, it does speak to his character a little bit, but
well,
it's not something I personally hold against him.
No, but when it comes to the right wingers and their opinion on draft dodging,
yeah, like I said, it does speak to his character. It is relevant,
but it also shows in his later what I would call disdain for the military. For people in the military anyway, not the military as an organization.
Well, I can't speak to how he thought about the Vietnam War. I got no idea if he did it just to avoid serving in Vietnam due to
his dad didn't want his only male heir to go die,
or if it was just he was dodging the draft because he'd rather be daddy's little boy. I don't know. I can't speak to it. I would err on the side he was daddy's little boy, just wanted to avoid fighting. But it could be he was a conscientious objector and just, did what he could.
And I would love to give him that credit. So I would too. Because I don't know specifically otherwise.
But he dodged the draft.
Yeah.
He did dodge the draft by whatever reasons, be immoral or whatever. He is a draft dodger by definition.
Let's see. Where is, because they do his shit kind of weird here. But so he gets out of his school, and he starts basically working with his dad. There was they found out later on that there was like people would I forget who did it. I think it was like some sort of news organization, but they applied to Trump's dad, and I think Trump was the one in charge. Are you looking up his business?
Yeah, I'm just looking up something over here. Sorry to interrupt you. A little typey type.
Cut me off. But yeah, he there's this guy that he went to go get an apartment or whatever that was owned by the Trumps to rent to a black guy who worked for this newspaper or DA or whatever it was, and it got turned down for whatever reason. Well, then, that day, a white person that worked for the same company went, and of course, they got the fucking place. And they did that, several times, and they were able to show a pattern of, racism through who they rented their buildings to and whatnot. And the only reason I bring that up is because, I was raised by racists, right? And it's only really through my my underground dealings that I was able to kind of break through on that. Even though as a kid, I thought some of it was kind of, the racism was backwards and dumb a little bit anyway. But yeah, dealing more directly with the underworld kind of kept me away from it. But as a person who was raised by racists, it's very easy for that intergenerational racism to continue, right? And to me, and I'm only bringing it up now because it shows it shows kind of the start of a pattern of his racism and xenophobia. In 1977, he married Czech model Ivana's not going to work here anymore. They had 3 children: Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. Ivana became a naturalized United States citizen in 1988. More immigration helped by the Trump family.
Can't find a good wife, import one.
Build the wall. So he in 1990 he had an affair with actress Marla Maples. He had many affairs during the marriage, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back, to my understanding. Trump and Maples married in 93 and divorced in 99. You want to guess why?
I would probably say pork the wrong barrel.
Yep, sticking it in the wrong holes. In 2005, by the way, Trump and Marla have a daughter together, Tiffany. She was raised by Marla.
Now, I will say to this on that particular aspect, a person of that particular statute is not beholden to the same set of rules that other folk are, men folk.
All right, we're going to have to pause on that one. What the hell are you saying?
A man that has choices has more freedom. Inherently. He doesn't have to be faithful.
My argument is that he is entering into monogamous relationships.
Was it agreed upon to be so?
If you're getting divorced for affairs, yes.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. That could just be the filing work. That this is a way that I can do it because it.
Are you just devil's advocating here?
No, I'm just pointing out that that people that are affluent, that have multiple choices available to them, have the ability, not necessarily the right,
to grab them by the pussy.
Well, unfortunately, that's another truth.
Yeah.
That speaks ill of both sides there.
It does. And honestly, like, my thing, I understood what Trump was saying. I even agreed with his fucking talking heads that were like, that's just locker room talk. Yeah, it was. However, my concern was the evangelicals who heard those words come out of his fucking mouth and were like, he's still our guy. How do you hear that come out of somebody's mouth and say, this is our family values, man?
He didn't say he did it. He said that a person like that could. He said to him in these words, people like us can get away with it. We can grab a woman by their pussy and get away with it.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty much what he said. Yeah.
It's true.
I understand that, and I agree with you on that.
Now, had he said, yeah, I did this last week, man, she just let me get away, that I would be disgusted
He said that.
He said he could grab a woman by their pussy and get away with it. He said he could shoot a man in the face and get away with it. He hasn't said he'd done it.
This is the guy who a woman came up to him after his first run for president that we'll get into later. And she was like, hi. And he just looked at her and he's like, I could have all the bitches in this room. I wouldn't let you suck my dick. Quote unquote. My argument is not that Trump said it. It's that people heard these things come out of his mouth and said, yeah, that's our man. We want to stand for family values and freedom in America. He's really going to help things. He is really going to make America great again.
Well, that's a different statement that I have a problem with.
That is my problem. I don't have a problem with the fact that he said it. I have a problem with the fact that they said it was
that's
okay.
A different statement with a different context that is not okay. The original one was, like I said, that he said he could grab a woman by the pussy and get away with it. It's not a false statement, and it's not wrong in any way, not even morally or it's not even demeaning to women to say that he can in any way. It's a truth. It's an unfortunate truth.
Yeah, if you look at like the attention, say, rock stars get.
Yes.
Yeah, I
can't tell you how many times I've been in a bar hitting on a fucking woman and she reach out and grab me by the dick to see if I'm worth the fucking time to talk to.
But I'm not upset about that.
I'm not upset about it.
I'm not upset about that. And if she had a lot of money,
it's strange. Okay.
If she had a lot of money, all the better, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just saying.
But
I'm not even rich. She wasn't even rich. She got away with it.
But are we voting for her for our family values position? That's
no. What I brought that up for is it's a complete apples and oranges thing. But what I brought this woman actually done it. Not said she could and get away with it. She actually done it.
Well,
this
right.
is a woman doing it to me. So it happens both ways. And I don't think it's bad that somebody said that they could. And honestly, my own personally, it's weird, but I don't find it bad that a woman's going to fucking say, you know what? I'm going to find out if you're worth fucking time to invest in you. Fine. Ask me. Reach out and grab me. But ask. More than happy to tell you. Well, save that one for when you ask.
Honestly, I'm.
But yeah. the fact that he said he could do it, no fucking problem. The fact that it's true, that's a problem. He didn't say he did it. I don't see where everybody went nuts. I don't see where it's a values issue. That he did say that he could do it. He's pointing out a problem.
Well, except for his
he's
record,
bragging that he could.
His record,
I don't know.
And he has
more than likely he's bragging that he could.
He's bragging that he's bragged that he has. His record shows that he has.
I would have to hear it before I could change my mind, but I'm open to the possibility, knowing the Donald Trump that I've looked into here. I'm open.
Yeah, he's made all kinds of statements about.
He's made stupid claims about what he has and hasn't done. I wouldn't put it past him, but I haven't heard it.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that coupled with his history before his run for president, including him saying that Republicans are fucking idiots, should have excluded him.
The majority of them
should have excluded him from their vote.
Should have, yes. It's very surprising. Yeah, I would have very much thought that he would have actually run as an independent, but the fact that he was right there. Like I said, I'm not faulting him for being right and calling Republicans idiots. He's right. It talks to a problem on the other side of that discussion. I speak to the problem of women letting men get away with bullshit like that.
My grandfather.
I speak to the Republicans for being idiots and letting people fucking talk to them like that. Yeah.
I asked when my grandfather is hardcore Trumper, even to this day, and during his run when that thing came out, and when Trump came in, he was like all about Trump. I was like, well, what about when he said that he would, if he ever ran for president, he'd run for president on a Republican ticket because, quote, they're idiots and they'll believe anything. He said, well, he didn't say that. And I was able to show him that he did. He was like, well, people make mistakes.
Yeah. Christian too, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. He used to be a Southern Baptist preacher.
Yeah. Believe what you want, fuck the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So,
I mean, these people can make themselves believe anything.
After this, Trump married another Slovenian model. Well, the other one was a Czech model, but he imported another immigrant, Melania Knaus, whatever. Actually, his hottest wife.
Yeah, she is fucking hot.
Fuck yeah, she was. Yeah, she's being married to Trump will age you.
Even for that age, man.
She's hot for her age.
I wouldn't kick her out of bed unless she wanted to do it on the floor.
Yeah, I wouldn't kick her. I wouldn't say no, but would I pursue? No, absolutely not. Would I pursue back, in the day? Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man. She's got a classy look to her.
See, I like my women a little on the trashy side.
I don't mind those either.
They're usually more fun. They had one son, Barron, born in 2006. And that's the same year Melania gained U.S. citizenship, oddly enough.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Huh. So immigration's okay, according to Donald Trump. Trump
got in on some weird fucking visa, too.
Trump was confirmed in 1959 at the First Presbyterian Church in Jamaica.
Wait, didn't she get on some educational visa? Shit.
The Einstein visa. It's a visa reserved for immigrants with, quote, extraordinary ability and, quote, sustained national and international acclaim. Let's see. She was a model working in New York and dating Trump. She was approved just 1 year after. Let's see. How did she fucking get it? Huh. All right. 2, has to provide evidence of a major award or meet 3 of 10 criteria proving excellence in their field.
Okay, and being a model and
Oh God, look at her then. And she was hot. She does not appear to, at the time, have excelled in a niche area of modeling, nor won awards or had her work written about. Her lawyer has declined to publish. So, from best I can get,
that's what I was like.
nepotism.
He had on a special visa. That's what I was bringing up. I thought it was something specialized like that she should have never gotten.
Yeah, nepotism. Trump smuggled someone into the United States and made them a citizen.
But somehow did it legally.
Well, I would call it I would
legal.
call it extra legal.
Yeah, I've been just looking over his business profile, man, and yeah, there's not really much in here to say that he should have been trusted with any fucking thing, let alone a nation.
No, and the people were always saying, "Oh, he's such a successful businessman during this time," and even at that time, I'm like, from my understanding, he's not.
The only thing he has successfully done in his
Just ruin everything
career
he touches.
that I can see is promote himself.
He ruins everything he touches, and then he stands on the ashes.
Somehow, in all of this, he has promoted his name to be a successful badge.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta give
where
it
he
to
gets
him.
all of his.
The man wrote his autobiography when he was 38.
Well, if I was going to have written one, that would have probably been the one I would have wanted to do it too, because I sure hell didn't think I was going to live past 40. Here I am 100 years later.
Feels like it, huh?
Yeah, the only thing he has successfully done is make himself bigger than life.
Yeah, he has no actual business sense really whatsoever. He has a little bit branding, but everything that's been under the Trump brand
Has failed.
Has failed or been fucking charged with fraud. Let's see. He attracted public attention in 1978 with the launch of his family's first Manhattan venture, the renovation of the derelict Commodore Hotel. The financing was facilitated by a $400 million city property tax abatement arranged for Trump by his father, who also, jointly with Hyatt, guaranteed a $70 million bank construction loan. So basically, he didn't do it himself. It was given to him. The hotel reopened in 1980 as the Grand Hyatt, and that same year, Trump obtained the rights to develop Trump Tower, a mixed-use skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan. The building houses the headquarters of Trump's corporation and Trump's political action committee, and was Trump's primary residence until 2019. It kind of reminds me of, you ever seen The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino? Where they're all working in this lawyer firm, and Al Pacino's the devil, and he has the top floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard his condo or whatever at the top of Trump Tower being described as being decorated. What was it? It was like somebody gave Michelangelo meth. It was just this weird, opulent, nonsensical fucking thing. In 1988, he acquired the Plaza Hotel with a loan from a consortium of 16 banks. Hotel filed for bankruptcy protection in 1992. That's 4 years total. And a reorganization plan was approved a month later, with the banks can take control of the property. In 95, Trump defaulted on over $3 billion of bank loans, and the lender seized the Plaza Hotel along with most of his other properties in a restructuring that allowed Trump to avoid personal bankruptcy. The lead bank's attorneys said of the bank's decision that they all agreed he'd be better alive than dead. In 96, Trump acquired the mostly vacant 71-story skyscraper at 40 Wall Street, later rebranded as the Trump Building, and renovated it. In the early 90s, he won the right to develop a 70-acre tract in Lincoln Square neighborhood near the Hudson River. Struggling with debt from his other ventures, in 1994, he sold most of his interest in the project to Asian investors, who were able to finance the project's completion and is now Riverside South.
I like this quote from George Patrick. Trump's swollen success was also the stuff of carefully crafted self-promotional legend.
That's it. Everything he's done has failed. It's like he actually thrives on the failure. You know, there was something he was talking to one of his daughters or something. They seemed like this guy, a panhandler. And he said, that man right there is $9 billion richer than me. Which meant he was like $9 billion in debt at the time. You know? That was the implication, was that man had $0 and was more wealthy than Donald. And I think that's the way it's always been with him. He himself is worthless. But his branding and his, you know, his constant rise of crashes, you know, he's just riding the waves of his own failures.
I mean, he's got us a couple of things that are still going. I mean, the Trump Tower, I mean, it's still there. It's still running. Hasn't foreclosed on it yet.
No, not yet. But the businesses that he runs inside of it often do.
I mean, it's not all failures, but overall, it's like, how in the fuck did this guy become anything? How does his name still hold value?
He put it there.
I'm trying to figure out how he done it because I'd like to copy it.
You can't. You're too good a person, Mike. If you were able to manipulate shit the way he does, you'd already done it. Like, it was only going to be done by one person. Let's see. In 84, he opened Harrah's at Trump Plaza, a hotel and casino with financing and management help from the Holiday Corporation. It was unprofitable, and in May 86, hey, that's when I was born, Trump paid Holiday $70 million to take sole control. In 85, he bought the unopened Atlantic City Hilton Hotel and renamed it Trump Castle. His wife managed it until 1988. Both casinos filed for bankruptcy protection in 1992. Well, since the third time must be a charm, he, in 1988, got the Trump Taj Mahal. It was financed with a $675 million in junk bonds and completed for $1.1 billion, opening in April 1990. He filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1991.
Well, we can summarize from that point there. I mean, he filed for bankruptcy on 6 different things. And he's quoted as saying, I do play with bankruptcy laws. They're very good for me. I've used the laws of this country to pardon debt. We have the company. We'll throw it into a chapter. We'll negotiate with the banks. We'll make a fantastic deal, you know? It's like on The Apprentice. It's nothing personal.
Turn and burn. How many people lost their jobs for his turning and burning?
I mean, that sums him up right there.
How many hungry children were there so that Trump could inflate his artificial value?
Now, most of these deals he was able to get were due to underhanded, what we would call underhanded business dealings and practices that stem from his childhood and shit, from, you know, having to, you know, prove himself to Big Daddy.
Right, and he's like W in that way. He's like George W in that way.
But I mean, you know, to give it a little bit of a context, we gotta put it there. With, I mean, he was having to grow up having to prove himself to Daddy. He did go through a military training training school. And at that age, like I said, behavior is too rub off. You might not learn anything, but you will learn behavior, right, wrong, or indifferent. Because impressionable youths. And then he grew up in New York. And I don't know. I mean, New Yorkers might find New Yorkers friendly, but from an outside perspective, we don't find you very friendly. Whether we go there or you come here, it's you're a little rough around the edges, folks. Just a little bit. Take a little bit to getting used to from the countryside. Over here, a little more polite with our insults around here. But so I mean, he's a little more aggressive in his whole entire personality. That's just New York. You're a little more aggressive than who you are. Sure. You have to. You got to be. You stand out and all that. You got to be a little more. More. You got to have a little more there for yourself, or you're just going to get washed out. I understand it. There's nothing wrong, but it's just he's a New Yorker. So from the rest of the country, yes, he's bombastic. Yes, he's loud. Yes, he exaggerates. Yes, he all in your face. It's a New Yorker. So the businesses there are cutthroat. You lie, cheat, steal, bully, brag.
Kind of brings me to my next point about all this.
I mean, kind of the way business was done in New York in the 70s and 80s.
Right. I get that. Speaking of how business was done in New York and New Jersey in the 80s, who was in control of the construction permits and the construction process, the unions and what have you, the labor in New York and New Jersey?
I'm not sure.
The mob.
I was actually thinking of
Gotti. I believe it was Gotti. So in order to get these ridiculous fucking contracts, he had to cozy up with the mob. Right? Same practices. And I'm not saying, and honestly, I would be more happy in a country directly run by the Italian mafia.
At least you know what you're getting. And they're somewhat ethical.
Consistent. They are consistent and somewhat ethical.
Rules, you follow the rules, you're good.
Yeah, La Cosa Nostra 2024. But yeah, so like I said, and there's a lot of different ways we can point to Trump's involvement with organized crime and organized criminals. That would be a whole nother day in of itself.
I won't even hold that against him because of the time and the era and the place.
I don't hold it against him personally, but again,
it speaks to the character of the individual that is now running for another term.
It speaks to the character of an individual. And just like police, I believe if somebody is to be the president, the leader of a nation, they need to be held to a much higher standard than everyone else. You know what I mean?
If not, we need to just draft for the president.
I fucking agree with jury duty for all political offices.
Yes. If we're not going to hold them to a higher standard, then they need to be from the general public.
I've been saying that for fucking ever. If we're going to continue the system, but that actually is an anarchic concept, a narco-synonymous commune type thing.
But it still holds true to a constitutional representative republic.
I think there should be a social contract. I think we need now that we have...
Well, that is a social contract.
I think we also need a social constitution.
We just need a little bit more agreement in said contract.
It's like we need... Our constitution, our governmental constitution or whatever, right, gives us free speech. Our social constitution should keep us from being able to call people, N's or F's or...
Well, it does. It does. We tend to ostracize.
We don't have an agreed upon social contract. in almost anywhere in the world.
It's not a social building, it's a social construct. It's constantly under construction as we evolve, both physically and mentally. as thought itself evolves. What we find distasteful today, not so much tomorrow, or more so tomorrow. It just depends on how public opinion goes. And it's largely public opinion. And that's how I actually believe that we got our morals and the way we behave from the time that we were more primate than we are now.
Slowly, yeah.
I agree with that whole construct that society, the social behaviors, morality was a step-by-step evolution. It was emergent, and I think the whole morality issue is emergent and is continuing to emerge.
Yeah,
it's like the whole trans issue thing now. 100 years ago, there ain't no damn way in hell that shit would have been accepted in any form, way, or shape, fashion, form, or another. Way too Christian. Way too much religion around the world for that shit to fly. In some parts of the world, it's still that way. But, here it's changing. Slowly, a lot slower than some people want, but faster than other people are liking. But it is changing, and it will continue to change.
Yeah,
it's a new thing that's been brought to the attention of the society that's there. So now the society will make its judgment, and how that goes is unknown.
Yeah.
It will determine on the vast majority of the people to slowly ostracize people that think that way, and the other people to join in with it will either join or continue to be an outlier group.
Yeah, I can see that. I saw him.
That's why we don't run around punching each other in the face, no matter how mad we get.
So have you seen the meme? It's like, Mom, I want blank, and it's like, Mom, we have blank at home, and then the blank at home's like bullshit, right? It's like, I want KFC, and it's like, oh well, we have KFC at home, and it shows, it says the KFC at home, and it's like Popeyes. You know what I'm saying?
I would actually put that the other way around. So,
but yeah. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So, did you hear about Trump's NFL at home?
NFL, what?
He wanted the NFL. And his financial board's like, no, we got the NFL at home. And the NFL at home turned out to be the New Jersey Generals, a team in the United States Football League. You ever hear about the United States Football League?
No.
That's because Trump fucking killed it. In 1983, Trump purchased the New Jersey Generals, a team in the United States Football League.
I wouldn't have heard that.
Huh?
I was 10, so I wouldn't have been able to hear that.
After the 1985 season, the league folded, largely due to Trump's strategy of moving games to a fall schedule when they competed with the NFL for audience, and then trying to force a merger with the NFL by bringing an antitrust suit against the organization. He wanted to be in the NFL. They're like, no, we can't get you that, but we can give you the off-season NFL. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he decides, well, we're going to make it compete. We're going to do away with the NFL. And when that wasn't working, he's like, well, maybe we can merge them. And they finally, nope, there is no UFL. There's no alternative to the fucking NFL anymore. Huh. How like the basketball has like the NBA and then the NAC, whatever.
Well, I get his mentality of wanting to compete with the NFL and try to take.
He didn't have to.
But yeah, he went about it all wrong, like he does with everything else,
and completely destroyed it.
It's like his trade agreements with China. I agree that he should have went there and renegotiated the deals, but god damn, he fucked it all up.
And what good has it done?
But the fact that it needed attention and that it was willing to go and try to do it, I agreed with that. It needed to be renegotiated. He fucked up.
Huh. At least there's not a pattern of him doing that. Oh man. Let's see. Oh yeah. This shit.
I admit to deluding myself into thinking that, even if you take it that, a failed businessman can make a success out of failure. If you're buying properties, you're getting some money out of it, then you're letting it run into a bankruptcy, then you're...
Right.
If you're finding a way to succeed in that and come out ahead, fine. You're succeeding in failure. And there's a way that could possibly have worked out.
He is good at making things fail to his benefit.
That's what I'm pointing at. The fact that it failed is not the issue with me. It's did he make it work out in his benefit?
And with as quickly as some of this shit.
And that's what I was looking at in his business. Okay, in business, I was, it's a shark eat shark world out there. I can't see dog eat dog because dogs don't eat dogs.
Shark eat shark, fine.
But it's a shark eat shark world in the world of business like that. That's the mentality I had of it. Like, those motherfuckers are cutthroat. They will fucking do whatever they can to put another corporation out of business so that they can make their money. And if you look at it, if he can ruin businesses and ruin other folks and don't give a fuck about their monies, as long as he's making money in the deal, he's succeeding and making gains, then he is successful in my opinion. His businesses, not so much.
And see, and the thing is, everybody said, well, he's going to run this country like a business. And if you look at how he runs businesses, he destroys
But which
them.
business are we looking at? Are we looking at the businesses that he run or the business that run the businesses? If we're looking at Trump organization himself, the brand, it's fucking more than successful.
But the businesses, right? If he's running America like a business.
Is he using that as a financial engine to finance this? And if so, he's doing a bang-up job.
What I don't think you get what I'm saying. If his way of running a business is to destroy it in order to profit himself, what do you think he's going to do when he runs a country like a business? He's going to destroy it in order to profit himself.
What I'm saying is correct, but what I'm saying is he can create businesses or get into businesses, destroy them to make his business good. Right? So the way I was looking at that, this is the way that I justified it. Okay.
We're going through rationalization loops. I understand.
Yeah, this is the way that I had justified, because I looked at it, okay, if he's ruining all these businesses, but he's making money. It's his business. He's using other businesses as a financial engine. So if you take that on a national scale, take the United States as his business, you can ruin Argentina, China, Cuba, all them other fucking businesses, fucking bankrupt them to benefit us. Okay.
But he didn't treat America like the Trump business.
He did.
He treated it like
that's one of
that hotel that he closed in a year.
That's one of my problems that I'm having with that. That it didn't turn out like that. I'm not saying that he didn't try to. Because he did try to go into negotiations with other countries and turn that shit around, and yeah, he started to make some headway in a couple of them. Not enough, like 3, and they were ones that would have probably turned their bellies over to us had we just asked them.
Yeah, they were tokens.
Yeah, so I can't really give him credit on those as much as I would like to as a devil's advocate position. But my perspective of it was that him was the business, not his businesses that he ran. He was using those as an intention to fail them, as some form of an engine. I don't understand how it works, unfortunately, or I would definitely be doing that shit because I'm good at failing.
If I knew how to short, dude, I'd be great at it.
Yeah,
if I knew how to bet against things, I'd be great at it. But all I know how to do is invest in a company that might go up, and I'm not good at that.
I'm really good at telling you where not to.
Well, no, you're not. The one time I was right.
I was real good at telling you not to.
The one time I would have made us so much money. This podcast would be on MSNBC by now.
I'd be able to run for fucking president. What the fucking? Where the hell is that? My fucking goddamn shit's over here on the damn charger.
See,
assholes trying to fucking call me during while I'm fucking recording. What the hell?
See, our audio quality is at least as good as Steve Bannon's War Room. What do you know about
content's better?
What do you know about his Miss Universe days. More specifically, his Miss Teen universe, which he also owned.
I actually skipped that part.
Oh, boy. Remember how weird he was about old quote-unquote Creepy Joe sniffing on girls?
Yeah.
And I get it. The sniffing thing looks creepy. So he owned all or part of the Miss Universe pageants, including Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. They also eventually were failed, but Miss Teen USA, he would regularly go into the dressing rooms while they were getting prepared and touting that he owned the place and he was just checking up on things. But everyone who was there said he was just trying to look at the teen girls who were in the Miss Teen USA pageants. And he did this for years.
I don't know how backstage is in those pageants.
They're back there putting on swimsuits.
I know they're getting dressed and all that stuff. Yeah,
I said we're not going to talk about the overall problem with the pageants themselves.
Well, I've been to a couple been backstage to a couple of different types of shows, and I've been in dressing rooms and different hallways where people are changing clothes. The mentality of that particular venue it wasn't that big of a deal. The people there knew they were there to be eyeballed or something like that.
Right.
And you let it all hang out or try to be bad. Yeah, it's up to you.
Adults,
but
right?
Everybody's adults there or intending to behave like I don't know if everybody was adult. I didn't ask ages and stuff.
But it was
like
an
that.
adult venue.
Well, I was pretty damn close to age myself. My younger days in the city when I lived in the city.
Right. But you're
the underground in Raleigh was a different.
That's a little different. That's a different scenario.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the backstage mentality is in that particular
You
situation.
got teenage girls getting naked and changing clothes, and you got the owner coming in.
I can see from an outside perspective where it would be absolutely irreprehensible to do so. But I can see a possibility that the mentality of that group, the participants and all, might have a different perspective on that. They might not see this as taboo. And, underage, I would still call it an issue myself. But I can't speak to the folks that are actually involved with that on how taboo they see it.
Yeah. Trump would walk into the Miss Teen USA dressing room, all these 15 and 16-year-olds completely naked, just walk right in on them.
Is it a small dressing room to where it's supposed to be private, or is it one of these big giant fucking dressing rooms like backstage where you see on the model?
I remember putting on my dress.
Everybody is getting dressed no matter what age they are, and you got all the designers.
I remember putting on my dress really quick because I was like, oh my God, there's a man there. Said the former Miss Vermont Teen USA. Trump, she said something to the effect of, "Don't worry, ladies, I've seen it all before." 3 other women who asked to remain anonymous for fear of getting engulfed in a media firestorm also remembered Trump entering the dressing room while girls were changing. 2 of them said the girls rushed to cover their bodies, with one calling it shocking and creepy. The third said she was clothed and introduced herself to Trump. Of the 11 contestants said they don't remember him coming in the changing room. Some said it was possible while they were in the room or that they didn't notice. Most were dubious and dismissed it out of hand. The former Miss Wisconsin Teen USA cast doubt, saying these were teenage girls. If anything appropriate had gone on, the gossip would have flown. But also, she said that she had told Ivanka Trump, Trump's daughter, about Donald Trump entering the room while the girls were changing their clothes. Bellato remembers Ivanka answering, "Yeah, he does that."
Who's Bellato?
Bellato is the woman who was like, where is she? She was the one who was putting on her dress when she was like 15.
Okay.
And she walked in and he's like, "Don't worry, I've seen it all before."
Okay. But as I was saying, I'm not trying to validate or, to say it's okay or not in any way or nothing like that. Because like I said, from my perspective, it's not. But I don't live in that world. I've been to a modeling show, bro. You know, you go backstage and that, you can see any damn thing you want to. Those bitches don't fucking care. There may be one or two in the crowd that's a little bashful and wants to be modest and, you know, try to hide themselves a little bit, dress in the corner or hide behind the little clothing rack.
Sure.
And that's fine. Yeah, they're trying to be modest. You don't walk up to them and have a conversation while they're getting dressed. Other women will walk up to you and say, "Here, sit me here. Would you mind?" Or, you know, hold up.
Yes.
Okay. But the mentality from that, they come from a younger background of it. Is it the same in the younger? I don't know. And I do not know if every one of those were fucking actually overage, because some of them were pretty young looking. So, but you women back then weren't as developed at 18 as they were now. So, I don't know.
What goes to his thought process on it is he during when he was talking to Howard Stern.
Even on this article, yes, there are a few women that in the whole entire thing, or girls or whatever you want to call them at that age, that are bashful and are, you know, uncomfortable with the situation of a man walking through there.
What need does he have to be in there?
Or was it the fact that, you know,
Trump is not a maintenance man.
That's what I'm saying. He's the owner of the fucking place.
So he just gets to walk in on whoever. That's nonsense.
If everybody else, the producers and the fucking designers and the fucking dressers and everybody else is also walking through there, then there's no problem. None. There's no conversation to be had. Because it's the way that it's the way it works back there, and a couple of people are uncomfortable because, hey, Trump's now running for president, and it's a big story. I've got to say my piece.
In Trump's own words, and of course he was talking about the adult pageants, but I'll tell you the funniest thing is that I'll go backstage before a show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else, and no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it, I'm inspecting. I want to make sure everything is good.
Well, that...
the dresses, is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everyone okay? And you see this incredible looking woman, and so I sort of get away with things like that. But no, I've been very good.
Well, that answers the question. It's probably not a fucking situation to where everybody's walking through a large dressing room. Therefore, I'm on the other side of it. That's probably inappropriate.
Yep.
From earlier, I was speaking from I did not know.
Yep. And see, unlike most people who voted for Trump in 2016, you're able to look at facts and change your fucking opinion depending on the change.
I'm obligated to.
You would think everybody is.
It's not that I do. It's I have to.
There is no evidence. He said that these accusations have no merit or have been disproven by other individuals. When you see questionable attacks like this magically put out there in the final month of a campaign, you have to ask yourself what the political motivations are and why the media is pushing it. There is no evidence, however, that the accusations have been disproved, only that some of the contestants said they were not aware. And some believed it could not have happened, right? So it's hard to say, whether he did or didn't. But the fact is, he has said that he would just walk in there, no men around, and to inspect the dresses. He's not. He's inspecting the naked girls.
Now, again, personally, I don't hold that against him.
Well, the teenage girls, I do.
The teenage girls, yes. The teenage girls, yes.
That's my only problem.
If that situation there is, as it would read that him saying in his own words that if those are his own words, people do kind of take them out of context and misquote him a lot. Now I will take it as it is. If that is, like I said, what he said, then I would have to tell you that that's not the environment that you do that shit in.
No, well, these are children,
especially the younger ones.
Yeah, that's so, and it goes back to his friendship with Epstein, right? Now, on one hand, everybody with money knew Epstein. I don't think it's fair that everybody who had their picture taken with Epstein is being called a pedophile. That's not fair.
Let's find out how many of them went to the island. And then we can start narrowing it down.
Yeah.
At least excluding some folks.
Yeah. Did Trump ever go That's an empty cup. Trump.
I was sad about seeing that keyboard get healthy.
Epstein. I spelled Epstein wrong. That's probably how he ended up killing himself.
It was a different Epstein.
Epstein Island.
God, now we're going to create a Mandela effect.
Oh, God. Trump flew on Epstein's Lolita Express 7 times.
There you go. So
and it's reported by several.
So yeah.
Yeah, all right. So yeah,
So we can't exclude him.
nope, we cannot exclude him. In all fairness, I can't exclude fucking Clinton either. So
I didn't say that. I just said we can't exclude him.
I was just straw manning the people out there listening who are getting on Clinton, Hunter Biden's laptop. Trump University. That is another good one. 2004, he co-founded Trump University, a company that sold real estate training courses priced from $1,500 to $35,000. After New York state authorities notified the company that its use of the word university violated state laws as it was not an academic institution, it was changed to the Trump Entrepreneur Initiative in 2010. In 2013, the state of New York filed a $40 million civil action suit against Trump University, or Trump Entrepreneur Initiative, alleging that the company made false statements and defrauded customers. In addition, 2 class actions were filed in federal court against Trump and his companies. Internal documents revealed that employees were instructed to use a hard sell approach, and god damn, that is an understatement if I've ever heard it. This was some of the most shit. Like when you sit there and you actually read out like in the depositions,
Talking college loan level predatory.
beyond that, like we're looking at timeshares. That type of
attacking me again.
that type of predation. They would get these people in there, and they would actually like pull. If they said, "Well, I don't have enough money for that," they could actually get these people's bank accounts and be like, "No, you have this much, and you're making this much. Stop attacking me." Oh, so I mean, to say it was to say that it was a hard sell approach that's an understatement, right? It was predatory as shit. They wouldn't take no for an answer, really. And basically, if they're like they can't, and in the documents of like their script for their salespeople, basically, if they didn't meet these requirements, you trash them and you try to talk them into getting loans. Like, is there anything you can sell? Well, you're not really interested in, if you really wanted to make $1 million or whatnot, you would do this.
And if I didn't feel bad enough for selling timeshares.
Yeah,
going through my entire repertoire, bro.
So yeah, now is this the type of thing we want to do? Get people signed up to a quote unquote university? No, it's a scam. It's a money making, and the people who went through the training, none of them became real estate brokers. Not through that. They learned basically nothing.
Well, they learned
how to get scammed.
How to spot a scam, hopefully.
At least. Shortly after, former employees testified that Trump University had defrauded or lied to his students. Shortly after he won the 2016 presidential election, Trump agreed to pay $25 million to settle the 3 cases.
So I bet you made more than $25 million.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's how you make money.
Yeah,
was it a failure or was it a success?
There's people who say that the money generated from this scam is kind of what helped boost his so
was it a failure
president.
Or was it a success?
A success for him, a failure for everyone else, just like everything else with Donald Trump. If your goal is to help Donald Trump, then vote for him. If your goal is to help America, I don't know, fucking don't vote for him. Maybe not vote. I don't know. Just say no. Just say no. 2024.
That would be something. Just don't vote. Everybody stay home.
Yeah, everybody stay home.
Just take the day off. You probably got the day off for voting anyway. Just go home and enjoy the day with the family. Probably the last day of peace we have at that point.
Yeah. I've heard so many people the past few months be like, look, I'm not so, because people I heard talk about the Rock running for president. Yeah, he's like, well, I mean, I'm not so sure that democracy is going to be
the
a
last
thing.
one. I mean, and I'll probably do the same this time around.
I don't believe it helps. I don't believe the votes matter. You know what I'm saying? I'm not so certain that they go anywhere. And if they do, our choices are skewed. You know?
I don't like the system. I don't want to participate in it, especially when it is, in a sense, rigged. Not in the Trump sense rigged, but in a fucking America over sense rigged is, it's definitely rigged that way.
Yeah. The only people it really seems to help are people who they don't really need it. You know, people who are already rich and powerful. That's the only people the system seems to kind of help. Which is another reason.
The person you want to run, there is a career politician, but unfortunately all the career politicians that we get are absolute bullshit.
Yeah,
politicians.
They're there for a career.
But you need somebody with the experience in the political fields. I mean, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do if I got sat down in that damn chair to go and do foreign policy.
You think they do? They have advisors and lobbyists helping them make their decision.
But after years of being in there, yeah, you do. You should be able to know how shit works and not rely on your advisors so much and be able to actually do so yourself, which would be where the career part would come in. You would figure after 10,000 hours of doing something, you would be an expert at it. Unfortunately, they're bullshit. They spend 10,000 hours doing bullshit, so they're bullshit artists.
From 2004 to 2015, Trump was co-producer and a host of reality shows The Apprentice and The Celebrity Apprentice. Trump played a flattering, highly fictionalized version of himself as a super rich and successful chief executive who eliminated contestants with the catchphrase, "You fired." The shows remade his image for millions of viewers nationwide. With related licensing agreements, they earned him more than $400 million, which he invested in largely unprofitable businesses. Why was he in the Screen Actors Guild? But he resigned from it in February of 21. That he had been a member since 1989, rather than face a disciplinary hearing for inciting the January 6th mob attack, which we'll get to. I don't know why one had anything to do with the other, but okay. His political party affiliation. Well, we've already mentioned his thing of, I'll run Republican because they're fucking dumb. Well, he registered as a Republican in 1987. A member of the Independence Party later, the New York State affiliate of the Reform Party in 1999, a Democrat in 2001, which is when I think he made that statement. A Republican in 2009, unaffiliated in 2011, and a Republican again in 2012. And in 2012 is when we first started getting these rumblings, right, of him coming onto the scene. I thought it was a joke or a publicity stunt.
I thought it was publicity.
As I did until about halfway through the 2016 run. Actually, until his run for president, I wasn't sure. Until he won, I wasn't sure it wasn't a publicity.
Oh, it's when he come down the escalator, I knew it was real.
In 1987, he placed full-page advertisements in 3 major newspapers. We're going to go to talking about his newspaper advertisement thing in a second, too. Expressing his views on foreign policy and how to eliminate the federal budget deficit. He ruled out running for local office, but not the presidency. In 1988, he approached Lee Atwater, asking to be put in consideration to be a Republican nominee, George H.W. Bush's running mate. Bush found the request to be strange and unbelievable. Bush Sr. thought it was just strange and unbelievable that Donald Trump wanted anything to do with politics, right? In 2000, he ran in the California and Michigan primaries for nomination as the Reform Party candidate for the 2000 United States presidential election, but withdrew from the race in February 2000. So he didn't run for long, right? A July 1999 poll matched him against likely Republican nominee Bush Jr. and Democratic Al Gore showed Trump with 7% support. So it wasn't looking too good, so he backed out, right? He seems to know when something's going to fail, generally. In 2011, he speculated about running against Obama in the 2012 election, making his first speaking appearance at the Conservative Political Action Conference and giving speeches in early primary states. In May of that year, he announced that he would not run and endorsed Mitt Romney. His ambitions were generally not taken serious at the time. Right? And that's, like I said, like we were just saying, when it came up in 2016, I wasn't taking him serious at the time either. You know, like, it's just, he's done this before. Right?
Like I said, with him saying that he's going to, and again, when he got put onto the ballots and stuff, and I was on the lines that it might just be publicity to rebrand himself and to get himself in. But you know, like when he came down and actually announced that he is, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, but he also at the time it didn't seem like a serious threat because there were 15 other fucking Republican candidates, all well more qualified than him. I hated all of them, but most of them less than him.
That woman that used to be head of with IBM and shit, I can't remember her name. Yeah, her is in the end. No,
because I didn't want a corporate head running the country.
Well, at least sure, yeah.
God.
Yeah, and honestly, it's, you know, Clinton's campaign's the one that got us Trump. They did everything they could to destroy everybody else, thinking they would win against Trump. Yeah, to be sure, this is the one that Hillary could beat.
Yeah, they were just lazy about it because they thought there's no way possible.
Yeah,
and I agree. It's like there's just no way.
Except for the fact that Donald Trump turned it into a publicity match instead of a political match.
Yeah.
Had Hillary run against, you know, any of the other Republican candidates, she would have had a much better chance and would probably won. Because she would have been able to speak more toward the humanitarian side, which gets a lot of people's attention, even, you know, some Republicans. But it was close enough to enough people remembered the first Clinton run, and was like, yeah, it would have been close, but Trump was able to control the stage. They didn't count for that.
Yeah.
They thought of it like politicians instead of like celebrities.
Yeah. He went up there like Hitler, you know. Which honestly, like I said, I find the comparisons between him and Hitler, while interesting, like I said, I think he's more similar to like a Mussolini than a Hitler. Xenophobic and whatnot.
I'd agree with that assessment.
Yeah. He's not so much dangerous as the one who's going to come after him. You know, I
still wouldn't say he's that level of fascist.
He's just a corporate fascist.
Yeah.
Who wants to tear down the media?
No, he's a little more than just a corporate fascist. I wouldn't say I wouldn't quite say he's quite Mussolini level, but I mean, give him a few years. Shit.
Trump's
pretty sure Mussolini was a fairly okay guy in his younger age.
I guess.
Well, considering the fact that people tend to become more conservative as they get older, I mean,
see, I'm just backwards from the get-go.
You are slightly, you know, coming a little bit. I ain't saying you're going conservative. You're just coming more that way. It's tendency to that side. You know, if you're far out that side, you're only going to come back into here. But people tend, with age, to go more toward the right on a conservative side, not losing liberal values, but coming more on a conservative side on a whole perspective. You know, wanting to slow down a little bit and let's examine things before we say we got to change that to fix the problem.
Yeah, my error is my thing is to err on the side of compassion. You know,
right.
You know what I mean?
And that's noble and all, and you know, I try to do the same thing, but I try to make sure what I'm going to do isn't worse than what's happening. Instead of saying it's different than this, we got to do this now. I want to say what is going to happen when we do this.
And I also straddle.
That's my level of conservative. That's where it is. That's where I'm conservative, and that is it. I just want to slow the fuck down on all these changes.
See, me when my most liberal is when I'm looking at it from from my perspective of life, right? But when I step outside of that and look at it objectively, I'm all about the Borg. You know,
I kind of agree.
So I have two opposing views, right? On one hand, I am a proponent of personal liberty to the extreme, but on the other hand, for as far as the overall survival of the species, I'm all about the Borg. And
if we're going, we are social. Now, as much as I'd like to be an independent piece of the construct and have my own individuality, I want to hold on to that. And just as
absolutely,
I really do. I have to concede the fact that my individuality has to take second to the
needs of the many.
It has to, else we will never progress.
Right.
Now, I want to progress. I just don't want to do it at the speed that progressives want to. And that's my problem. That is my problem. I don't have a problem with what we want to do. I agree with what we want to do in these levels. I don't want to do it that fast. And I want to make sure that what we're going to do ain't going to hurt nobody else. We've got examples in the table right now that's hurting people to include people because we want to change what it is now. I don't like what's happening. So I'm against what we're doing, not where we're going.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think that human rights and liberties are a finite source, and I don't understand why they're so hoarded. Right. You know, like if I give somebody else rights, that doesn't mean I have less. It shouldn't. That's silly.
Doesn't hurt me to let somebody else do something that doesn't cost me anything.
Not a bit. Not a fucking bit. But Trump's fame and provocative statements earned him an unprecedented amount of free media coverage, elevating his standing in the Republican primaries.
Yeah, like I said, you underestimated his ability to control the narrative.
He adopted the phrase truthful hyperbole, coined by his ghostwriter Tony Schwartz, to describe his public speaking style. His campaign statements were often opaque and suggestive, and a record number of them were false. The Los Angeles Times wrote, "Never in modern presidential politics has a major candidate made false statements as routinely as Trump has. Trump said he disdained political correctness and frequently made claims of media bias." The fake news. You know, Hitler had a term called the lion press. And it was anybody who was to the left of hunting the homeless for sport basically was lion press. Anybody had anything negative to say about his stormtroopers and, you know, the bullshit that they had going on? Well, that was fake news. That was lion press. He adopted that.
Yeah.
And and the problem is the news is lying. Right? There is such a thing as fake news. But he uses that and he twists it for his benefit.
Yeah,
he is the lying news. He is the fake news.
This is a statement that I agree with the statement, not with the definition or the context of it from his perspective.
He is the fake news. And you know how you know it? If he says it's true.
It's true.
He says it all the time. I can't listen to a speech from any point in time since his initial run for president where he hasn't declared something as true.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's true. And that's his way, you know? He just makes shit up, says it's true, and anybody who says otherwise,
It's fake news.
it's fake news. It's a witch hunt. You know, lying press.
Now, we do have fake news, but for completely different reasons.
Absolutely, we do have fake news.
So, I mean, like I said, you give him man from ammunition. And he just throws shit everywhere.
And see, and that statement got a lot of people that were kind of like me on his side. They were like, "Oh yeah, see, he's right." And they're talking about the corporate people who are running everything and the evil of that. And he'd mentioned that, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's right." I'm like, "Yeah, but he is that. He is that. He is the swamp he's talking about fucking draining." Like
He admitted that too.
and people still fucking were like, "Yeah."
Straight up told her, yeah, I know how the damn game works. I am the game. I play the game. I use these rules.
Exactly. I know how it works because you fucking participate. And all the shit they had to do to get him to stop making money during it. They're like, well, you can't be fucking profiting on your presidency.
Which clarifies, like I said, the man is what he says he is.
A crook.
Just because I say he didn't say that he grabbed him by the pussy with it, doesn't mean that I don't believe he hasn't done it.
And that's across the board with him.
Because of the fact that he said it makes me believe he's done it. But that's not what he said. My problem is the media saying that's what he said, and people having the idea that's what he said. That's not what he said. I ain't saying he didn't do it. I ain't saying he don't do it. I'm just saying that's not what he said. That's all.
And he's clearly got a hatred for brown people. To me, that's clear, right? I know you disagree.
I disagree with that because I don't know personally or nothing like that, but the actions that he's taken on the public side of it kind of show that that's not true. You know, there's recordings, of like Steve Harvey supposedly went to him to talk to him about getting something for some project thing that he had going up in the urban parts of Chicago, I think it was, right as he was coming in for the election, or I can't remember if it's at the election or as he was nominated as the Republican. I can't remember the exact timing, but Steve, I had no problem with it. Got it. Straight up. Done. Got you. And it was to help kids in their urban development for some project.
When was that?
Like I say, it was Thursday the 16th. I can't remember if it was after he got nominated for the Republican or after he got elected. It was sometime right there.
Well, if it was during his nomination period, that makes absolute total sense. Because that's the time when he's talking about.
It would almost have to be after the election because he did have what's his name, Ben. What's his name? The guy that got put into housing.
Yeah, Ben Carson.
Carson, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's qualified for it, but
and Uncle Tom, if there ever was one.
Put a person of color is in charge, okay? Give that man a little bit credit on that, and then he put Steve Harvey in touch with him and got that ball rolling immediately on that project.
Well, even the old slave masters had a house slave that they put up above the other slaves. Samuel Jackson and Django.
I get that you can go that route with it. It's possible, but there's an awful lot of them if that's the case.
The only ones
it's not the only example that can be pointed out and have video proof of people of color praising Trump for things that he's done for the community. There's a few of them.
There's like one or two. 100 maybe. Let's see.
And the only thing that I can point to that even shows that he might have something against people of color was a supposed study to where somebody put in testers, like 12 people of color and 12 white folks to go in to see if they could gain, admittance to a building, and the people of color were turned away. Well, that doesn't speak to Trump himself. That speaks to the people that were running the business there. Did he hire him personally and tell them that? I don't know that, and we'd have to follow that. But that doesn't, as I understand it, speak to Trump. There's nothing that I can find on Trump that shows that.
When you look at the laws he passes vis-a-vis immigration, right? He clamped down on people coming in from Muslim countries, clamped down on people coming in from Mexico. Of course, I think that might be debatable. I've seen some numbers which say the immigration from Mexico actually heavily increased during his presidency. But did he say anything about Canada?
Until the border decreased, the population density, Mexico increased. But the illegal migration total decreased. And it wasn't because he put up a wall, because he really didn't.
Goddamn wall didn't fucking do shit. Walls don't do nothing for planes, which is the way most of these people come in.
Tunnels. They're not stopping the people from walking over in the places where there isn't a wall.
There's nothing stopping them from going to Cuba and then
stop illegal migration from fucking south of the border. Extend the south border.
Or give Texas back to Mexico. I think that'd be a great solution. I think they can
slow it down. That at least give them a place to go that still has modern-ish amenities.
Yeah, they can run their Handmaid's Tale world down there all they want.
I mean, it's enough of a population, an area for
we stole it anyway.
Population. Yeah, I mean, that'd slow it down, but it wouldn't stop them because it'd still be Mexico, which would, they're coming into America because it's America. There's differences. Though we're definitely not as, shining as it should have been. It's still better than some alternatives.
Right. So, well, my thing is his policies in the communities where they were already marginalized, right? In the people that were already being marginalized, not your Ben Carsons and your Steve Harveys who are, they're not in that group. If they were part of, it's just like anybody that come to suckle at the teat and kiss the ring.
Steve Harvey caught flack for fucking goddamn it to going to Trump and saying one good word about him because he had done that for him.
Yeah, same with fucking Kanye, but then we saw how that turned out too. Kanye was cool. Then he went to go meet up with Trump, put on that hat, and lost his fucking mind. If nothing else, Trump ruined Kanye West.
Well, I would not put Steve Harvey in that, even on that side of the fucking fence. Steve Harvey would be somebody who reached across the aisle to see if it were possible and got handed a nugget. Here's your gold. Yes, he probably didn't expect it to happen. It was just told, yeah, sure, let's make it happen immediately. No discussion whatsoever. Just, hey, I got this idea. I want to do this. Sounds great. Let's do it.
Let's see.
Not sure that was the right one.
Steve Harvey, how I feel about Trump. Talking about somebody coming in and taking all the evil raccoons out.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about raccoons.
Because that was something to find out. It was just somebody
making some level of recreational centers in the urban areas of a major city, and I'm thinking it was Chicago, but I'm not 100% sure about that. It was during the last election cycle when I was looking this up. It just came to mind, or I would have looked it up during the research into Trump here. It brought up then during the election that Trump's a racist, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Biden's the racist of these two, and looked into it because I remember a few things.
The Barack Obama and Donald Trump transition team invited him to meet with Trump. It was a cool meeting. We talked about golf clubs and things like that, people we knew, people in common. Then we got down to the crux of it. He introduced me to Ben Carson. We can talk about it in a whole nother episode. He's a piece of shit. Harvey said his only agenda was to promote positive change in the inner cities, and he aimed to do so by partnering with Carson to establish STEM learning centers in inner city schools that were already or were at risk of closing. When he spoke to Hollywood Reporter, he said Trump had Carson on the phone within minutes of Harvey sharing his plans with him. The comedian also said the backlash afterward more stiff than I expected. I did not see that coming. I was being called names that I've never been called. I'm supposed to be on a boat for my 60th birthday.
He immediately caught shit for fucking even working with him, bro. That's what I say. This is the stuff that I've seen. Yeah, I haven't seen other than that I don't know if it's a Trump Tower. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, there was some group did a test where they sent 12 testers of color and 12 white testers into one of his properties to see if they could gain access, and the colored folk were turned away. I agree that it might have happened. I'm not sure. I didn't look into the study, the verify or nothing like that.
I did.
But I'll take it at his word that it happened. I've got no reason to disbelieve it. I've got no reason to believe it. I mean, I'll take it on it. They did it. I've got no reason to call them out on it. So let's say that did happen. That doesn't tell me Trump's a racist. That tells me the people that turned them away is a racist. Now, if you show me that they got orders from Trump to turn away people of color, okay. I would then have to change my stance on that. I haven't seen it. And if we take the travel bans, the so-called Muslim bans, well,
these are people who are trying to escape from these Muslim-controlled governments.
I understand it. But I'd have to bring up the Hamas conflict right now with Israel as a small example. Apples to oranges, but it's a conflict example, so it is relevant that you can't allow the Gazans to flee into Israel because then Hamas gets into Israel. Throw away the fact they're already there.
Side note. We can proclaim a victory in my proposition that Israel supported Hamas.
Oh yeah. You heard it here, folks. If you heard it first,
if you check back in our Israel episodes, I put forth the claim that Israel, since 2006, something had happened with Hamas. They drastically changed their policies, and Israel backed out of Gaza. And I put forth the claim that Israel perhaps had infiltrated Hamas in order to perpetuate their war against them, against the Gazan people. And MSN reports that
this government that has been in power so far has been funneling money in suitcases across into Gaza for Hamas for years. And this hasn't been underhanded, shady dealings. This administration that's in Israel right now, under Benjamin Netanyahu, has had a more hands-on approach to that than people would like to admit.
So I'm not just a crazy conspiracy theorist. I am merely a pessimist who believes that the worst characteristics of human behavior always come out at the top. So his Muslim ban thing, his ideals that people, it was just like he said with the Mexicans. Some of them, some of them are good people, which was the last part of the statement. They're terrorists, they're murderers, they're rapists.
Well, some of them are good people. I'm sure some of them are good people.
It's really the other way, right?
Yeah,
these are good people.
Horrible.
Some of them. It's just like the American people. We're mostly good people. Some of us are racists. Some of us are fucking murderers. Some of us are rapists.
You got two optics there that you're shooting for. He was pandering to this particular audience on this particular side, so he stated it in this particular way. The statement, if you put it on a balance, that some people are good and some people are bad,
Sure.
it's going to hold true anyway. including the white folk. But
he could have been. These people are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, children, people who need help, and some of them, I assume, are criminals.
He very well could have phrased that in a completely different way that would have went over just as well had he said, we have to stop all these people from coming in. I understand it's a horrible thing because all these people need help and they're in a horrible situation, but we cannot allow them to come into our country because of the fact that one terrorist might.
We got states full of terrorists here.
That's beside the point.
And it wasn't that he said
how he should have phrased that.
And he didn't say some of them are good people. He said some of them, I assume, are good people. No, I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that shows a xenophobic,
Oh, xenophobic, absolutely.
Yeah.
Xenophobic, absolutely.
And xenophobic is, the kissing cousin of racism.
It is.
You don't get racism without xenophobia. The fear of things that are different, the mistrust of things different.
Not necessarily.
I'm listening.
Even different tribes in the same regions that would have had the same race, pretty much.
Right. That's xenophobia.
That's xenophobia. Yeah, you can have that without racism being a.
But you cannot have You're not going to have racism without the xenophobia. Is my thing. You can have xenophobia without racism. But I mean, by definition.
Yeah, but I was under the impression that we were speaking of xenophobia as the bad thing.
It is. I mean, it is a bad thing.
It can be misused.
And when it's being put into policy.
Xenophobia is kind of one thing that has, perpetuated the human race to be able to populate the world. I disagree. Where we no longer need it.
I disagree. I think had we been more xenophobic in Neanderthals, we wouldn't have been able to survive the Ice Age. But instead, we fucked them. And we were able to survive the Ice Age as a species.
But it does let you avoid situations that can be potentially dangerous. I say it can be misused. If you fall into it and use it as a way of life, as a worldview, then you have a problem that you're cutting yourself off of too much experience, you won't grow. But to use it as a cautionary precursor is basically just using caution. And, it's looking before you leap.
Well, there's terrorists in Ireland. Was there any bans on travel from Dublin?
What I'm using it as
there's terrorists in the Philippines. Was there any ban on travel from the Philippines? There's terrorists all over the world, but the ones that were banned come from Muslim countries.
Were we at threat from Irish terrorists?
We're always at threat of terrorism.
Were we the focal point of their ideology at that time?
One could say we could be very quickly because of our support of Britain.
It could be.
Just like our support of Israel.
We weren't at war in Ireland. We weren't dropping bombs on Ireland.
We're not at war with Israel or Palestine either.
We were at war with Afghanistan and Syria.
But if we start sending bombs to the UK that they drop on Ireland, you best bet your ass they're going to be mad at us.
We had no idea where the hell this threat actually originated from or where they were recruiting from. We just knew it was
we did.
We knew where a few of them were from. Enough to say that it was here, and here, but we don't know if it was there as well or there as well.
Did we ban travel from Saudi Arabia?
No, we get oil from.
How about that? The number one supporter of quote unquote Islamic terrorism was not banned from travel to the U.S.
We get our oil from there. We can't mention them.
Irrelevant. We get our labor from Mexico. So it doesn't matter.
We already got the labor from Mexico.
Apparently we need more. Look at all the fucking places that are hiring. You been to a McDonald's lately? It's ridiculous. Where's all the Mexicans? And yeah, you could
That would
say
be interesting to look at, but I'm pretty sure we could find it.
But that's my thing, is it wasn't based on protecting us from terrorism. It was based on protecting us from Islam. That's when you started hearing all these cries about quote unquote Sharia law in our country. The people who are crying about Sharia law, by the way, want their own version of Sharia law. That's just as ridiculous.
Well, that's the whole reason we have what we have, is so we don't have either.
So, and the Sharia law thing, yeah, that's when that's
Both of you can exist.
yeah. So, and you have Trump up there saying that they're trying to bring Sharia law into our countries. They were not. They were not. The ones who are the biggest supporters of the Sharia law that he fucking was using on his Muslim ban shit is Saudi Arabia.
Which is why I like our constitutional republic as it should be, not as it actually is. But this particular part of it does still work. Even though it may become a law by the majority voting for this to happen, they cannot stop a locale from saying, this is my law, that we can, as long as it doesn't affect the overall law. And if it takes away from an actual right that's granted by our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, then they can't legally impose a law saying that they can't do that thing that they want to do, whatever that thing may be. If they do, then there is legal recourse to come back and get more opinions on the fact to make sure that, one way or the other is correct. It's an ongoing process, as we're seeing with all these cases being overturned and reversed. And so, but that's the beauty of the machine, is it's self-correcting. Takes time sometimes.
Speaking of Trump with the Middle East,
We self-corrected.
yeah, we got him out of office.
And we lifted the bans because, I don't agree with the bans.
They were if you were going to ban for the reasons you say,
that they were racially motivated.
Racially, I wouldn't say so much racially as theocratically.
Theocratically motivation, yes. Fear, yes. Coincidental, absolutely. More so than any of the other. We have terrorists threat from active terrorist threat from active regions. Those regions just happen to be majority Muslim, majority brown, majority Islam.
But the one who is actually responsible for the most of it, we didn't ban. So that yet again throws that whole thing out of the window.
No.
If it's important
it raises a question of why that wasn't included. And the answer is oil.
Human rights, irrelevant.
Not when it comes to oil.
Yeah, therein lies the issue, Mike.
I'm not saying it's not an issue. I'm just accepting that's the way it is.
If the Muslim ban had anything to do with terrorism, Saudi Arabia would be number one at the list.
I agree. Should have been.
Same with the war on terror.
But I understand the reason it's not.
Speaking of prolonging
the alternative, I don't know.
Prolonging the Islamic war.
What would we do without that oil? That raises another question, and then you have to weigh the pros and cons of that I was not privy to all the data to. I don't know if I'd make the same decision.
They come on American soil,
I know this.
kidnap people, take them back to their country, and execute them for driving a car on TikTok.
I don't know what the consequence would be to losing that amount of fucking resources. I don't know what that consequence would be. I don't know what the cost is to lose that. It might be worth it to accept it. I don't know the cost. I would have to say it would have to be an exorbitant fucking cost. But I'm open to the possibility that it is just that fucking crucial that we keep that fucking oil.
Or the people who are making billions on oil keep telling us that it's that crucial.
That's more likely the case. But I have to be open to the possibility that we're going to ignore that big of an atrocity and not include them in this, big announcement against the war on terror for some reason other than the fact that somebody's got a pocket.
It's not truly about terror.
I I never agreed that it was truly about terror.
You know, I mean, I had those thoughts right after, but when we went from Afghanistan to Iraq, I was like, no, it was never about terror.
I'm not totally off the boat on the inside job possibility.
I'm not either. I can't rule it out.
Was it fake? Absolutely not. Planes crashed.
Planes crashed into buildings. People died. You know who those people all came from?
Including the Pentagon people.
You know the majority of the majority of the people who were in those planes, not the people who you know were passengers, but the hijackers, Saudi Arabia. Did we go to war with Saudi Arabia? Who financed it?
But that makes the question, yeah, okay, they recruited the people from there. But yeah, just because somebody recruits me to do a job, does North Carolina get credit?
The Boston Marathon bomber was an American who got recruited through, you know, radicalized.
That's what I'm saying. Do we count us as our terrorist threat against ourselves? Because he was an American.
That seems to me a bigger problem.
The question is yes. The answer to the question is yes, but not for that reason.
You know, and like so. It's just like, as far as him help the shit of the Middle East.
The optics are absolutely pointing to the fact. I get it. Yes, I understand why people think that it was absolutely racially motivated. Yeah, I get it. I understand it. And I don't fault people for having that point of view. It's a perspective, and you're 100% correct from that perspective. I get it. I'm not arguing that from that logic. It's just from a different perspective, you can see it that it's not with the same data. It's not racially motivated. It could
financially motivated.
It's
racially motivated until the dollar signs.
Well, it's financially motivated why we didn't include Saudi Arabia for the reasons I said. I don't know what the consequences would be for us to cut that source of oil off. I don't know how bad that would be for us. We are heavily dependent on oil. And we're heavily dependent on other people's oil for some reason because we don't want to dig our own oil for fear we're going to run out before everybody else does. I understand that logic and strategy too. I would want to burn up everybody else's resources before my own in this landscape.
Well, I think pretty soon.
I would much rather us all join forces and become one big giant fucking, unified people.
I think pretty soon we will be able to, that the American government will put Saudi Arabia on that list because as soon as Israel starts selling Gaza's oil, we have to buy it from them. So we're going to...
That might be the whole reason why we're doing it, so we can take this.
Well, it leads to why did Trump move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem? The reason that's controversial is because of the location of Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem is located just inside the border of the West Bank. So that would be tantamount to Britain saying, all right, United States, your capital, we're going to put our embassy, our U.S. embassy or whatnot, we're going to put that in Mexico. All right. And that actually justified Israel moving further into the West Bank, putting more settlements out through the West Bank by making Jerusalem the capital, far as, the international thing sees it. That was why that was so controversial. He claimed he was like, oh, I brought it in under budget. And, we looked at the facts on that, and he may have, but that's the cost money-wise is nothing compared to the cost humanitarian wise.
I think Guam would have been a better choice for the analogy, but I understand.
You get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
I fully understand it. But yeah, I mean, because they're not moving it to, and they didn't move it to a place that was in a different political control. We moved it to the side of Jerusalem that is, here. But so that'd be like us moving it from D.C. to Guam. Like it's not even it wasn't part of the United States anyway. We'll just move the power over here to the Indonesian side of the peoples instead of the American side of the peoples. It's still a U.S. territory.
Yeah, and now Americans are just moving there, willy nilly, and they have our support, and that's what moving the embassy did. That's why it created such a backlash. It wasn't about money or anything like that. It was about delegitimizing the West Bank.
I think it was about solidifying his hold on the evangelical root base.
Absolutely is what that was
I
about.
think that's all it was about. I don't think he thought one fucking bit about what it would do to the region.
He don't give a fuck. He ain't making no money off of it anyway.
I don't think he cared about what was going to happen afterwards.
Nope.
I think it was just, if I support Israel,
The evangelicals will suck my cock.
Exactly.
And they did.
Exactly. All he had to do was say he supported Israel, make a little bit of move to show that, and flip the fucking Bible upside down. Say, I read the book too, and he fucking fell in over heels for it.
Oh, that photo op with the Bible.
Motherfucker ain't quoted a single verse.
I would actually say, even
What
though he
kind of
claims
Christian can't quote a verse all of the time he's been on TV?
he actually gives these vague responses. Oh, there's a lot of them. I like both the New and Old Testament. Just these opaque verses. Yeah, he because it impossible for anybody to become a president as an atheist. He said he's non-denominational. But I believe he is probably our first atheist president. And as an atheist, I find that sad.
Yeah.
On paper, he says he's non-denominational Christian, but I believe in practice he is an atheist. I don't believe he believes in any God but himself.
I wish Sean Penn would run.
I wish The Rock would. I hope The Rock runs. He can go over there and give Russia the people's elbow.
If he runs as The Rock. Sure.
Can you smell what the president is cooking?
I'd probably fall on board with that.
Fuck it. Fuck it. Like Alice Cooper said, I'd vote for Alice.
I kind of question. It's kind of weird. I mean, he speaks kind of highly of Christianity.
Who? Alice Cooper?
Yeah.
Well, look at it. He's a boomer, man. He is a boomer. Yeah. At the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you'd start to be a little more open to the idea. The closer you get,
The closer you get to death.
easier to fault anybody for it, man. I don't know if I will be or not. I fucking hope not. I hate to die a hypocrite.
So Trump and COVID. I guess that's where we can go next, right? Have we missed any? Is there anything big we missed in between?
Well, I mean,
Nothing but lies, but
we kind of hit on the fact that he's a bombastic asshole that took over the fucking media for his own promotional needs, which pretty much covers the whole entire election and the first year of his presidency.
Did you remember the Donald Draws memes? Where it'd be like, pineapple does not belong on pizza, and it was like one of his executive orders that somebody had like. Yeah, there was a whole app you could get called Donald Draws where you could make your own executive orders. And it would just be a gif of him holding that up and showing it. Like, he loved that shit. But all throughout that part of his presidency, he had to keep being told what he could and couldn't do. They're like, you don't have that power. You don't have that power. No, president can't do that either, except for this, and no, you can't do that. Like,
I guess we can hit with COVID and then go into how he was as a president overall, kind of.
Yeah. So COVID, a lot of people will say that Trump's presidency was marred by COVID through no fault of his own. He would have actually been a much better president. All the numbers everybody could point to saying he wasn't are because of COVID. COVID.
Yeah, I mean, well, on that, if you do cut the first 3 years of it and disqualify his last year, the numbers do make him look a hell of a lot better if you quantify him there and then rank him as if he had a 4-year term. He ranks much higher. But unfortunately, we don't do the same for everybody else.
Nope.
I mean, because we would have to take the fuel shortage out away from
Ford.
Makes him look a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. 9/11 out of Bush.
Yeah.
So
housing bubble out of place.
And most of the good numbers I feel like that we have from the first 3 years of Trump are actually effects of what happened in the 8 years previous to Trump. You know,
some of it you would have to call as a washover from Obama, as with every fucking
of course,
because these guys are able to put in policies that last years, and some policies to have effects that last decades.
Right. Each president's handed a shit sandwich. It's what they do with that shit sandwich.
Yes.
Obama, I feel like, did way more with his shit sandwich. You know, but he had 8 years to do it. Trump had 3.
He did good on, well, Obama did good on a lot of aspects of that particular shit sandwich. Yes, I'll give him credit for that. There's a few of them, not so much.
No, I disagree with a lot of things Obama did. Don't get me wrong.
I don't put him as one of the worst presidents ever, like some folks do. No.
During my lifetime, other than Clinton, during my adult life, he the best. But in my adult life, I have Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden.
In my adult life, unfortunately, I have to give it to Obama.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I have to give it to Obama because of what he was, is compared against.
And, and when I see Obama, even nowadays, when I see him doing talking or whatnot, it doesn't piss me off.
Now, in Bush Jr., I would have honestly liked to have seen what would have happened without
9/11. He probably would have just golfed, cattle ranched. That's what he did up until 9/11.
If he could have kept what was going, and not fucked it up, and that administration not withheld any growth that was happening. It was slower than what it was afterwards, granted, yes, but we were growing in the right direction. Racism, other than me being in fucking prison,
yeah,
I didn't know about fucking racism.
During Bush's presidency, we had shit like Dave Chappelle, right? The Chappelle Show. And I feel like single-handedly, Chappelle did a lot.
Well, comedians in general.
Comedians in general. But
Chappelle just happened to be one of the more famous ones that have more publicity with it. But comedians.
He was able to bring black people, white people, brown people all together to laugh at each other.
In the 80s, man, you walk up into the projects, you got a couple of guys sitting out there with their boombox on their shoulder. I've got my boombox. I'm just not carrying it on my shoulder because I'm a moron. I'm carrying this bitch. Okay? I'm playing different music, but we both love fucking music. So what the fuck happens? I sit there and I listen to their fucking music, and then I listen to my fucking music. What fucking happened a few fucking years ago? Metal and rap starts fucking mixing together, and now you can't fucking distinguish them.
Unless you get in the time machine, right? or you're going for like black metal.
We got some of the best fucking music I've ever fucking heard in my goddamn life.
Some of this new shit's fucking amazing.
And where'd it come from? From the fucking 80s, where the metal guys and the hip hop guys were both fucking coming in, and guys were coming out with new shit that people was like, wow.
Yeah, like I said, down on the ground level, the people level, not up above where policies are made, but on the ground level with people, I think racism was healing. You know what I mean?
Yes. I ain't saying it didn't exist.
No, it still existed, but it was
it's gotten worse.
Yeah, like in my generation, it was almost gone.
Yeah, you can joke about it. When you can joke about something, it's worth joking about.
It's like South Park with AIDS. It's been 22-point-something years, 21.2 years. It's funny now.
We were using it as a healing method because, I mean, it's a fucking joke.
Right? When you look at it, it's like, come on, this is stupid, guys.
We can joke about it because it is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
I still joke about it, even though it is a serious topic, because it is a fucking joke.
Yeah, it's such a stupid thing. And they were helping us do that.
And that was under after Reagan and Bush. I mean, under Republicans, oh my God, Republican presidents. Politics doesn't make people's fucking mentalities happen. They make them actualize. We were actualizing ourselves during that time because that particular was generally leaving us the fuck alone to do our own thing.
Yeah, I'll say that. We were being left the fuck alone.
When you leave us alone to do our own thing, when somebody does something horrendous, we kick them out or we kill them.
Yeah.
So that shit becomes intolerable. People who want to be accepted in the group don't do that shit because they know we're going to kick them out or kill them.
Yeah. Which gives us the thing like the cancel culture, right? By the way, the people who railed against cancel culture so much, you know what their slogan is now? Go woke, go broke. You know what that is?
Canceling.
The irony. It's just, I couldn't iron this much with starch.
Like I said, it's always the way people have, that's the way society has come up. However, the targeting of it for people for shit that they've done years ago, they've changed. They're not that person now. You're not the person you were 20 years ago. I'm not the person I was 20 years ago. I don't want to be held accountable now for something I've already paid for 20 years ago and learn that that shit's not acceptable. I've changed. Even if I got away with it then, it was accepted then. It's not accepted now. I'm not doing it now.
That's all anybody wants.
What the hell?
Really. That's all anybody really wants is for people just to be like, okay.
I'm conforming. Why am I being punished? Yes, I broke the rules back then for the rules today, but that was back then. I'm not breaking the rules of
right,
today.
right. That's
that cancel culture. That was what I classified as cancel culture because they were targeting shit from way the fuck back that has no fucking bearing in today. Like we're going after songs. Classic songs. They're beautiful songs.
Are you talking about fucking It's Cold Outside?
The content of the day was different than today. Of the day was different than today.
No, women still got date raped back then.
Yes, they did.
And
I'm not saying that you can take that song as date rape. I'm not saying that.
I've read the lyrics and I say it's about date rape. But that's my interpretation.
And I accept the interpretation.
You can see where it's coming from.
I accept the premise of the interpretation as a valid interpretation. I don't hold to that premise or interpretation of it.
Right.
It's to me, it's more. I'm looking for the word persistence. You know, it's like when you're going out on a date, you go ask the girlfriend, and she says no. Right. You do some shit to impress her, you go and ask her again. She says no.
In this
you
drink?
do some shit to impress her.
I'm feeling sleepy.
Well, the only reason I give credence to that pasta set that it might be on the date rape side is because he's using it's cold outside. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to stay here with you. Don't make me go outside. I can understand that as part of the, like, you know, if you make me go out there, it's your fault I get cold and shit. No, but you can't do that to me. Yeah, the psychological warfare of it, I see it as that. Okay. But in the time that song was written, that was accepted behavior, and
It was. Rape was a little bit cooler.
not rape, just.
Women didn't have as much ability to say no.
I'm not saying that rape is anything. It was more accepted back then than it is today, unfortunately. But and I'm not saying that it's good at any level. But I'm not pointing out the rape part because I don't think was rape. It's using the psychological warfare to say that, you know, I can't do this. You're putting me into a bad situation because you don't want to be in a bad situation. Like, it's kind of like the guy that really doesn't deserve the girl, and he's bad for this girl in every fucking way, being persistent enough and talking the girl into giving him a fucking chance. And all right, he's not as bad as I thought, but he's still horrible. And now she winds up living in a fucking trailer park.
Yeah. Like I was persistent with Jessica,
a fucking chance.
but she didn't have to ever say, well, I can't. Why can't I go? What's in this drink? Why am I sleepy? Like, I was persistent with Jessica. Like, the first few times I offered to hook up with her, she was like, no, I'm not. I don't know. But I was fairly persistent. But when it came to taking no for an answer, like, But yeah, how did we get on? Oh, cancel culture.
Yeah, cancel culture. But I was actually referring to a different one that they something like Gone with the Wind or something along those lines. I can't remember if it was that.
Well,
one. There's been so fucking many.
The problem with Gone with the Wind was that the lost cause narrative. Like it was a noble cause that the South was fighting,
and it's not about the content. It's more along the lines of eliminating the culture, just saying that you can't appreciate the art of something because it comes from something bad. It's that level of it that I don't agree with. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean it.
Yeah, when it comes to art,
you don't understand it. Don't mean it don't make no sense.
When it comes to art, like actual art, music, movies, or shit like that, I give it a pass. Right? An artist has to be free to create, otherwise we don't get great works of art.
Now, I'm not saying I'm gonna go blast that song on the radio going through fucking town. No, I don't really like the song.
But there's also the point of look at how Germany treats Nazis now within Germany, right? They learned their lesson. You don't have people in Germany flying fucking swastika flags, right?
Not often.
Not often, and when they do, it's fucking shut down.
Society shuts them down.
We still got Confederate flags every fucking way.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't either. And when they were like,
you failed, folks, give it up.
Yeah, you fucking lost the war. You were a rebellion, sure. And you know what? I'm all about underdogs.
Yeah.
You were fighting against your oppressors.
I don't disagree with you doing what you did.
I disagree with what you were fighting for,
yes,
but I don't disagree with fighting man, right? Fighting the federal government. I don't disagree with you fighting for the reason for your reasons. I disagree with the reasons you were fighting for. Yeah. But now
the reason you were fighting for your beliefs, that is perfectly acceptable. The beliefs you had, no.
Yeah. The taking the Confederate monuments down, which weren't put up in the Civil War, they were put up in the 1950s as a fucking backlash to desegregation, civil rights.
Yeah.
These Confederate monuments, I don't agree with them being destroyed. But taking off a state government property,
taking them out of public purview,
put them in a museum.
Put them in a museum where people can go.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
But everybody's, it's destroying our culture. Well, look, are you still the Confederacy?
Or is this really the United States government? That culture. It's destroying culture. That is an interesting prospect for these folks. And the only reason I want to continue on that is because we have to include
because this is a big part of why
Trump supporters hold to this culture grab. We're good at destroying culture.
It's what Americans do.
And I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing.
Assimilating would be better.
There are times it is a horrible thing. Clarification. There are times it is a horrible thing to destroy a culture. There are times when it's a good thing to destroy parts of our culture.
Sure. Slavery.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. We destroyed that part of our culture. On paper.
Okay. Yep. We'll save that debate for a whole nother day.
On paper. I'm not saying we're done yet. I'm just saying on paper.
A whole nother debate.
On paper, we got rid of slavery. Slavery.
Chattel slavery.
Good
the direct ownership of a human being by another human being.
Good clarification. Absolutely. So, on paper, we got rid of that problem by destroying that particular part of our culture. So we continuously destroy culture to adapt culture, to change the culture. It comes back to that whole societal thing. So pay attention to what the hell we do and we don't do as a whole, not as an individual, and you'll get the direction that we're headed. And if you're still holding on to that individual thought that's not accepted by the whole of the people, then you might want to reassess it. Not saying you have to accept the whole, because I'm not a conformist.
What do you?
But you at least need to look at why you're a deviant. It's okay to be a deviant.
Yeah, I deviate from normal society.
We'll never change if we don't have deviants.
I deviate hard from normal society.
We are the catalyst of change. So being a deviant's not a bad thing. But you have to be careful of why and what you're being a deviant for. It's not what you believe, it's why.
Right. I agree.
Because if we get to why,
again, if you err on the side of compassion, right?
Yes,
and it's that
which
same,
is the way it should be, because it's better for you. It's the selfish way to get through life.
It's like Good Samaritan laws. If I see somebody that needs CPR and I actually harm them, but I'm trying to help them, then I am not liable for damage. It's not my fault. There's like Good Samaritan laws that protect that. And I agree with that in concept. You know what I mean? I agree with that concept. If you're trying to do, the right thing, if you're actually trying to help people, then, err on the side of that. If you're going to err, which is going to happen, err on the side of compassion, But the thing with the Southern culture thing, which, like I said, it's still relevant because of the alt-right and their Confederacy things. What is it you think when you hear them talking about preserving Southern culture, right, and using the Confederate flag for that? What is it that you think they're envisioning?
Well, when you add the Confederacy into the Southern culture part, because there's two Southern cultures, you got the Southern culture just being a Southern guy.
Sure, me and you are Southern guys. Yeah, we're not flying Confederate flags.
No, I don't fly.
That's what these people with the Confederate flags talking about.
I used to be one of those ignorant bastards that flew it for heritage, not hate, kind of.
Actually,
which was absolutely stupid because I'm from Florida.
With me, my brief thing with the Confederate flag, I still have like a vest that has a small one on it. But my thing with the Confederate flag was when I was a kid, I was told it was the rebel flag. It was a sign of rebellion.
Yeah, and under that, I can accept.
I accepted it for that. Then I learned about all the other shit, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I was taught in school that the Civil War was barely about slavery. Come to find out, that's not true. So when I hear these rednecks with the rebel flags talking about preserving Southern heritage and Southern culture, I picture that they're envisioning a world where them and their wives and their kids are sitting on their plantation.
About that was it was about property taxes.
What property?
Slaves were property.
Yeah, what property?
So right, it was about property taxes. It wasn't literally about slavery.
It was about states' rights.
For in their constitution,
it was about states' rights. What did these states want the right to do?
In the Constitution, where they had it in there where they could keep slaves. It wasn't about slavery except for where they wanted to keep slaves. It wasn't about slavery except for the property taxes that were all their slaves.
It all comes back to slavery, right?
So, yes, the public opinion, it wasn't about slaves. It was about everything else that had slavery as its root cause.
So, yeah, they have this image of them and their white wives sitting with their white children.
Okay, you explain fucking economics
on their white plantation porch, sipping, tea. And that's their image, right? That's their whole Southern, the hospitality and whatnot. But where in the Confederacy did you have this where there was not slavery? There was plenty of time for leisure.
It's always about the slavery. That's the root thing.
Yeah. So what is there in Confederate heritage to preserve? Not a goddamn thing, in my opinion.
The Union won the war. Y'all's history don't fucking matter.
Yeah, y'all's history don't matter. And on top of that, it is based entirely on slavery.
Had you not let the Union guys run away when you won the fucking battle, maybe you would have been able to write history.
Had you fucking, instead of shooting on them at Sumter, charged into Washington, maybe we'd be singing a different story today.
Yeah, we'd be about your fucking history. But yours got erased and is being erased and should be, and nothing more than a footnote in the history books to remind us not to do that bullshit again without a proper fucking reason.
Exactly. So these Trump supporters on January 6th in the fucking Capitol building with fucking Confederate flags, That to me is a statement of what their true intention is, right? That is how they see things. Like, aha, we finally got it. We finally got our battle flag on the Capitol steps. You know? Yeah, but no, we live in a world where that's cool, and Robert E. Lee and whatnot were allowed to live out their lives instead of hanged as fucking traitors. But, you know, whatever. That's the thing with the whole heritage thing, and all of these people who are watching their quote unquote culture go away.
I mean, the kind of the political rivalry thing. I agree with letting them live out their lives. You know, you barred them from government. You created a whole new amendment to stop them from seeking office and stuff, unless they were granted amnesty by Congress and stuff. You know, all that came about because of it. So, but you know, not
treating traitors, not charging them with treason.
I have trouble calling it treason outside of the view of the Union perspective. I mean, it was a succession.
Yeah, they seceded from the Union, but then fired upon the Union. The Union didn't recognize it. It's kind of like, you know, Gaza.
I get the fact that the Union didn't recognize it, and you know, so therefore can get to call it treason. But it was a succession. It was a formal succession. They were a completely different country. It was a declaration of war. It's not treason.
Well, American citizens declaring war on the United States.
They weren't American citizens.
At that point, I agree. They had the right to secede, right?
Yes.
And that's always been a thing.
So I can't cross the line of calling them treasonous, calling them traitors. I can't do that. Well, yeah, traitors, maybe. But treason, I can't say, I can't define it as treason. You succeeded from the country. You did that as a legal standpoint. It was available to do. They did it. They became a completely different nation. You didn't recognize that on the Union side. Fine. We did. On the Southern side. So, as the independent nation, I can't call it treason.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I would accept both. We call it two different nations. We call them having they had their own fucking parliament, their own, you know, cabinet, their own Congress, their own president, their own fucking Declaration of Independence. They had everything. They had all the paperwork.
Right.
We went to war with them. It's a civil war. It wasn't labeled as an insurrection.
Yeah, like if Texas or Florida seceded today, I would call it good riddance. You know. Fine,
let succession happen. Fine, I'm fine with that.
But they went to war.
Yeah, so I can't call it treason.
Just the secession alone, I wouldn't call. I don't know. It's complicated. But what else? You know, what else? That's the thing is these are the people that supported Trump. Not
the losers of the war. So we get to define. The Union got to define them however the fuck they want. I mean, let's go there.
Yeah, that's true.
They lost, so you take
to the spoiled, go the victors.
Yeah,
sure.
you accept whatever definition is given to you. So I have to accept that on that condition that they lost. So fuck it.
And they might have been allowed to stay had they not, fired on the Union.
Maybe. There might have been a peaceful solution out of it. Maybe.
But yeah, the thing is, these people who are going pro-America and make America great again are also flying these Confederate flags, a symbol of anti-Americanism.
Yeah, that's weird.
Right? That's why I say it's the flag of traitors. It's the flag of losing traitors who lost.
It's the flag of a failed fucking nation.
Yeah, completely failed in every regard. It lasted. Lost was on television longer than the Confederacy lasted.
Yes. 8 years?
Yeah. Rick and Morty has more seasons than the years of fucking the Confederacy.
Yeah, so it's much more relevant. So there you go.
You know?
So stop holding on to that film.
Yeah, put your fucking Confederate flag down. And now,
if you're willing to try it again, you do have that ability.
Look,
right?
Go to Texas. They're halfway there.
But at least have good reasons for it, and don't do a half-ass fucking, assault on one little.
Yeah, then don't immediately take up arms against the mother nation, you know. So back to Trump. Where were we? COVID.
Yeah.
He mishandled COVID, right? We're giving him all this leeway with knocking off his last year presidency because of COVID.
Yeah, the beginning of it, I kind of understand and kind of give him a little bit of leeway on, because you don't want to make the public panic, so make it bigger than it is. You don't want to risk doing that. You want to put them at ease, so you kind of downplay it a little bit. You know, I can understand that. You got a little too much confidence in our abilities and a little. You know,
well, he straight out declared it was fake, which what made it to me extra hilarious when he caught it at his rally.
At the beginning of it, I can understand the perspective, because it really did have the feeling of the fucking bird flu or something like that beforehand, or the swine flu. Like, oh my God!
When I started seeing the way the rest of the world was reacting compared to how we were reacting, I was like, wait a second, something's wrong here.
Yeah, and yeah, like I say, even given the benefit of the doubt on that, you could say that we're supposed to be the fucking, the shiny example of how fucking good, everything's supposed to be. There's no way something like that could happen here. We've got the best border controls. We've got the best, of course, border control. That's one of his fucking talking points. How the hell can we be secure from a virus if we can't control the borders? But we're secure from a virus, so it's not that big of a deal. Make up your mind on whether we can get it in or not. You want to put out the optic that it's not that big of a deal. And so I can give him the benefit of the doubt on how we start out with the coronavirus.
Sure. But then once he admits it's real, instead of finding solutions, he starts working about who to blame. First it was, France? Then he blamed Spain.
I'm not sure if it was before a chicken and egg situation, or if we had an omelet,
Yeah, and then, and I'm sitting there like, no, I first heard about COVID, in like November of the year previous, and it was in China. It started, we all knew it came from China. Trump, nope. It's Spain. It's the Spanish virus. It's from France, and then it's finally the China virus. And he claims that he was the first one to say it came from China.
The reason that there was a confusion on where the first origination was because the cases started at about the same time. They didn't know what the incubation period was.
Right.
So there was a period of confusion of when it was.
The biggest impact was in China. And it was like, oh, that's okay. But then they start calling it like it was the Chinese fault, or and it's like none of that matters, right?
Hear him saying he was the first one to call it the Wuhan flu, which is no.
It came out of a cave, so no, it didn't. Nothing he said was right. And then what was this shit with the fucking bleach? And he didn't exactly say drink bleach, right?
Yeah, that was one of my first ones that got me to start paying attention to what people were saying he said and what did he actually say.
Yeah, that was another problem with Trump's presidency.
And then you have to look at everything that he said around it to find out anywhere close to what he might have fucking meant. Which is where I come from, is saying he's not as bad as what people say he is, and he's not as good as what people say he is. He's really kind of in the fucking middle.
I would say he's
more toward the bad.
I was getting ready to say all the things I said about him have so far been right. He's a lying piece of shit. He's a corporate fucking hound that doesn't care about the people he destroys on his way to the top. He, not his company, not the country. He and his small group of investors and friends, which are all the people he promoted, right? His entire cabinet was made of his fucking friends, whether they had any kind of...
I'm not talking about individual bits calling you truths or falses. I'm not saying people are lying or being truthful about it. I'm just saying the overall picture being, good or bad. Yeah. And he's a little more toward, in my opinion, toward the bad side, and data opinion would show he's definitely on the lower end. But he's far from the worst.
And it's so bad that I even sometimes wonder if the ridiculous things that are being said about him being good, right? That we come to find those things that are false. I'm starting to wonder if that's a disinformation thing to make people think, oh, let's see, that he gives them a talking point. Well, he did this, this, and this. Turns out to be false, and then they don't trust the whole narrative. What is Trump saying?
Well, anything in the last couple of years, I absolutely will take that as definite. But the things that I point out to the good things that he's done, like the Steve Harvey thing deal. That was Steve Harvey's mouth himself that I got.
Yeah. I'll give him that. I mean,
that wasn't a report, an opinion piece, or anything like that. That was an actual video of Steve Harvey speaking, and you could tell it wasn't deep fake. You can pick those out.
Sure. I take Steve's word for it.
And so, I mean, it's those type of examples that I would actually state that this is where I'd say he's done good. It's not an opinion piece where I'd say that, because
when you look at the balance,
when you look at balance, he's definitely on the scale of nah. Which is the reason I'm even agreeing to saying we need to talk about fucking Trump on this shit, because somebody else has got to hear this shit and realize that even this Trump voter is like, no. As much as I dislike the taste of Biden, and it's looking like I'm going to have to throw my vote that way, in the same way I voted for Trump to keep Clinton out, I'm probably going to have to vote for Biden to keep Trump out.
Because I'm not seeing any other good options.
As much as I feel that the country will be in a much worse place under another 4 years of Biden, I don't think we will be this country after 4 years
of Trump. I don't think 4 years of Trump will end. I think it'll be 4 years.
I think he will win the next one afterwards, and by then he'll find some fucking way of making a full-on democracy, which he'll find some way of showing he got the popular vote to give him another term, because we know he wants to be not only the fucking first president to get another president to get two non-consecutive terms, but to be another one that gets a consecutive term after not being in term, and another one to be in the history books of having a 3-term presidency.
Oh yeah, be the best president ever.
Shit, of course he's the best president ever. He said it himself.
It's true. Oh my God, and it's like that's the thing. I don't think he would give up power if it was too good. No, absolutely not. I think the data has shown. And COVID aside,
he fucked COVID up. He waited way too long. But when he did do things with COVID, he did big things. He did it in Trump fashion.
No.
The things that he did big.
Yeah. Actually,
he did it for the publicity, yes.
Sure.
But he did good things.
Yeah, the stimulus shit and whatnot. I mean,
big stimulus package. He did send hospital ships to New York that didn't get used. He did send a lot of medical equipment to New York that didn't get used because they put them in the nursing homes instead. He did offer to send National Guard out to protect fucking businesses and shit from rioting and looting and stuff, which was declined for good reason, and I understand. But you can also understand the reason somebody would want to have that level of security during times where there was some...
But think of what it says to watch your city burn.
I get it. And then put in the power.
It's like I can watch my city burn, or I can give Trump control. Burn, baby, burn.
I see that perspective, and I don't fault people from having it, but I do see the other perspective.
But yeah, he did make attempts, right?
To come in to do it from that perspective, yes. Was it agreeable to everybody? No.
I honestly,
right way to go? Probably not.
I honestly kind of thought,
but it was something that would have worked in a way had it been implemented.
I was actually looking at it
have a lot of variety and looting if you got National Guard posting a tank on every fucking street.
I actually during COVID, I actually was kind of concerned that he was going to use COVID to, especially if COVID hadn't worked its way out by the election time. You know, I was pretty concerned that he was going to use COVID as an excuse to remain in power. And then he started saying things about this time about like, well, y'all know if I lose, it was rigged, it was fake. You know, he's already setting up this narrative. And in the polls at that time, he wasn't doing great.
Well, he was using the same narrative pretty much as he used to begin on the first one that worked.
Yeah.
Why change what worked?
No, and he's using it now.
Yeah, it worked.
He's using it now.
It worked. He got much more of a popular vote than he did in the previous election. Just so happens the other guy got a few more. But it worked. It's showing results. Why change it? I can't fault him for that. I fault him on his whole entire message, but I can't fault him for using it.
To me, it feels like he was setting up the con, right? And when it's
someone who sold timeshares, I can't fault him for that.
And when it, God damn it, Mike. When oh boy. See, timeshares should not be the way you run a country. Supreme executive power. Supreme, oh my God. Wouldn't you like to say to your secretary, I got a nice little place in Aspen?
You could give up your say on this political point, but to give another point an extra vote.
And, you know, you
can only do that during the red week.
He has continuously refused to disavow white supremacy.
No, he's disavowed him once.
Find it. I want to see that. Where? When? One time. But
and he did it in a really weird way. He's, you want me to do it? Fine, I'll do it. I disavow them. Fine, and moved on. But he did. He did. Semantics aside, damn it. He did.
David Duke, Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
The one the other guy went to the funeral for?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Are you talking about Biden? Maybe, yeah. But then again, you know, Biden's policy.
They could have done it as a good riddance, but yeah.
As a good riddance thing, plus they knew each other, right? But when it came, I mean, when Duke offered his support to W. Bush, Bush said, fuck no. You know, I don't want nothing to do with this racist piece of shit. He's clearly a member of the Klan. He's loud and proud. Trump refused to say anything negative about it. Refused not to fucking take his money. When it came to the Proud Boys, white nationalists, that shit in Charlottesville, he didn't say, hey, stop being fucking white supremacists. He said, stand back, stand by.
Yes, he did say that. He did say that.
Basically admitting that they're his brown shirts. You know what I mean? Stay on. Let me see. U.S. President from Al Jazeera in 2020. U.S. President Donald Trump has condemned all white supremacist groups, including the far-right Proud Boys, an organization identified as a hate group, following comments he made at the debate earlier this week. I condemn all white supremacists. I condemn the Proud Boys. I don't know much about the Proud Boys, but I condemn that. That it comes after saying, stand back and stand by. And just before them taking over the fucking Capitol.
Well, that wasn't just before, mate.
October 2020 to January 21.
Yes, yeah. The stand back, stand by.
That was in Charlottesville, 2016, 2017.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking you were making that connection with, and I wanted to clarify that wasn't it. That was a while back. Those two weren't together. Because that would definitely make an insinuation that he was holding off his army for an insurrection. No, that wasn't part of it.
What did he say?
Well, now, is it true or not? I don't know. But
if I say it 100 times, it won't be enough because it's fake news.
Which could be twisted into a completely different context. Now, the stand back, stand by comment. Not the best verbiage to use. Absolutely not. But I can throw a different light on that. Not saying I share it. But if you have somebody that is wanting to do something, and let's say just in case you want to reserve that possibility, you would say something like that. It's like, No, not at all.
Yeah, not in my name.
You wouldn't eliminate the possibility of being able to use that to your advantage. Speaking of it from somebody who continuously uses something to their advantage, using the personality and the way he would vocalize things, I wouldn't take that as a point where he's trying to give them a cue, like wait for my cue. Yeah,
not directly, but he didn't tell them to fuck off.
He did not.
He acted like a commander telling his troops.
He did, and like I understand the optics of that and where the perspective is coming from on those words. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong on that. Just saying you kind of look at it on a wider perspective, and it takes the edge off.
Well,
of it
the perspective, I think,
like, doesn't cut quite as sharp. That's all I'm.
Your perspective, my perspective, none of that matters. What actually matters in that point is the perspective of the Proud Boys.
Yes.
Right? And they took it exactly as, okay, he's telling us to wait.
Yes.
QAnon jumped on that same shit. You know what I mean? And what has Trump said about QAnon?
Which is a bad thing. Like I said, his verbiage was poor. It led into a whole bunch of other bullshit. But was that him accepting it? I don't think so. Think that was leaving a tool open for possible use? Yes.
Well, that's just as bad, right?
Okay. Yeah. Can't argue with that. I put it on the same shelf.
No, and the fact
I'm not saying it was good.
And the fact that during...
I put that on the same shelf.
During his second election, his election war in 2020, 2021, the fact that the QAnon people and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers...
But I would say that it points more to him being a selfish bastard that would exploit anything to his own gain than I would to him being a racist piece of shit.
Absolutely. And I believe he would...
And other people are saying that it means he's a racist piece of shit. I disagree with that. That's the point of it. I disagree with
it comes down to it, and what I've always said about him is not every Trump supporter is a racist piece of shit, right? But every white racist piece of shit.
Okay, I'm glad to that. I'm glad to
every white supremacist is a Trump supporter. And he's well aware of that.
I would say I would definitely agree with most. I'm not sure I would say all. I have a problem with definites and full exclusions.
I have never met a white supremacist who didn't agree with Trump.
I can't say that I have either, but that would be anecdotal. I can't include all.
You leave room for doubt, right?
Yeah, I leave room for a doubt, maybe one or two. Yeah, but
yeah, we're talking. Those will be outliers.
I would definitely talk the mass majority. Yes, absolutely,
the overwhelming majority. So much so
that you could get away with saying that, and most people wouldn't question it. Yes,
yeah, and he was aware of that, right? So he always would send these little dog whistles in his speeches and whatnot to these groups, you know. I think the whole wall thing, the reason he didn't actually do anything for building the wall was it was just a dog whistle to get the fucking white nationalists on his side. Same with the shit during the BLM riots and protests and whatnot. The way he acted about talking about law and order and blah, 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 and, never, he would never condemn what happened as far as like Derek Chauvin and all that.
Yeah, he never wanted to put his foot in his mouth to the point where it seemed like he was supporting.
He would put his foot in his mouth all the time, unless
on that particular subject. He wanted to leave.
He was very careful about making sure he didn't lose his white nationalist fucking support group.
Any support group, but specifically that one being the largest support group he had. Yes, but I would say that he wanted to be careful with his words. Not that he was.
Oh, he was horrible at it. But I agree with you that he at least wanted to.
He wanted to, like I said, to keep that. He don't want to condemn something that later might be the wrong position that would threaten his base.
Yeah, if 2021 had been successful,
he'd
want them.
That's why I think he wasn't, fast to condemn anything. Including shit he should have been a lot quicker to do so on.
Yeah, and he never his lack of interest in disconnecting himself from that is part of what I think. Like I say, he may himself not be a racist, but he has absolutely no problem using racists and filling their agenda in order to get what he wants. Right?
Agree.
You know, he would bring back fucking slavery, I think, if he fucking could. You know, because of...
I think he would be okay with another country having slavery and doing business with them level of mentality. I don't think he would accept it here because it would make him look bad.
Not among his main group.
It depends on which interpretation and how far the information that particular group is. Don't seem like they're very far along, so I do have that. I share that same concern.
Like, I'm not saying slavery would be the first thing he did, right? I'm just saying that it wouldn't be he would go that far for this group or these groups. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I mean, the Reformation happened before chattel slavery in this nation, and those folks used their Christianity, their religion, to be okay with chattel slavery.
Absolutely. It's why there's such a thing as Southern Baptists. Yep.
So would they be above that today? I'm not sure.
And every Southern Baptist I know, which I'm related to most of them, none of them are anti-Trump. All of them, to this day, love Trump. Again, not every Trump supporter is a white supremacist. But, so...
Well, if you're gonna believe in a story that has talking snakes and
it's easy to believe any old bullshit, right?
Sneeze out whatever the fuck they damn.
And he's at least enough of a con man.
Don't believe anything.
Yeah, he's at least enough of a con man to recognize that.
Yeah,
which makes the evangelical power in this country.
I'm telling you now, if I was to ever get into that type of situation in this day and age, I would probably fucking play the card as a Christian my damn self.
Until I could
at least fake it better than him.
Yeah, until I could burn him down.
I can tell you some things the Bible actually says and doesn't say.
unlike.
I can't quote a lot of it because, you know, I actually tried not to memorize it.
I didn't have an option. But so, we get now, I guess, down to the 2020 election, right? Was there anything we missed really during his presidency?
Well, there's a lot to his fucking presidency.
I mean, yeah, but we'll be here for a year.
Well, we can sugarcoat it over, you know, just the numbers kind of a thing.
Okay.
You know, with, you know, people saying that he was a horrible president or he's the greatest president ever, kind of, you got both those fields. You don't have too many people that land in where he's actually at. It's kind of mediocre. There's some horrible things that he did, some pretty decent things that he's done. Biggest credit I'd have to give him is he maintained fucking job growth through the bullshit that he failed at. So horrible.
Well, yeah, maintain. I like that you said maintain.
Maintained.
Not created.
There was very little creation. There was creation. We did have more jobs when he left than overall. Not in particular fields that he boasted in, but overall we did have more jobs.
The fields he boasted in actually were the ones hit the worst.
The two fields he boasted in were the ones he did the most. But when you look at the overall numbers, if you include everything, right, he took one fact and conflated it with another fact to create a completely different falsehood.
I'm glad you didn't say a completely different fact, because that's Trump speak.
I almost did. For that pun.
For like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, well, I use a different set of facts. It's like, no, we can't put me in the same failure. That I'm not going to do that. You know, I thought about doing it for the meme, but I didn't know if the meme would come out wrong. No. So very quickly, I changed it. And that was changed on the fly. Look at us, growth.
But when you like the trade organization with China, you know,
okay,
the idea was to redo it and to get tariffs coming in and, you know, supposedly get, you know, the tariffs from China to pay for shit. Well, unfortunately, that's not how tariffs work. Somebody forgot to tell him that.
He's putting tariffs on businesses from China that we sit there rather than just bring back business.
And the tariffs are charged on the importer, us, not the exporter, China.
We taxed us.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Somebody forgot to tell him how that works. Never corrected him in none of his speeches that we were going to get so much money from China. It's going to be so good.
It just shows that he used the same business.
There was
tactic.
a trade deficit, and had he actually been able to attack the trade deficit and make anything, we might have been able to come out ahead on something like that. It'd been great. However, he vastly underestimated his abilities once again.
Overestimated.
Yeah, overestimated. Sorry. I actually had I was thinking underestimated abilities of China. And,
yeah.
the thought converged and went the wrong way. Kind of what I accused Trump of having happened to him a lot. It happens to people. I can understand it.
Some people make a habit of it.
They do. People do it intentionally.
And make careers and
Like
presidencies. Insurrections. And
they don't admit when they're wrong.
no. If anything, I was told this by this guy. And
but it didn't work out the way he wanted it to, and it really fucking hurt us. It really hurt the farmers, which we had to bail out, on top of the tariffs that we had to fucking pay that come to the taxpayer.
didn't really bail the farmers out. We bailed out like Monsanto and Cargill and these like major. We bailed out big agriculture.
Unfortunately, that's where the majority of that thing went.
The ones who are actually suffering
went to. I don't know what.
Yeah, the ones who are actually suffering just continued to suffer.
They shared a much smaller percentage of it. They did get monies. Not as much as they should have, but they did get not as much as they should have from the Trump organization or from the divvying up from the monies. They didn't get the right percentages, and they should have had two different bills on that. He also had to bail out some manufacturing companies stuff for losses that they had acquired because of his policies, which again the taxpayers had to pay. Even though he gave us tax cuts, we really didn't see a whole lot of those tax cuts. So yes, he gave us great tax cuts. Unfortunately, we had to pay more taxes in other ways. That kind of took away the tax cut. Almost entirely.
Made it
so again
irrelevant, actually.
Tax cuts, yeah, but we got other taxes elsewhere.
And look where we decreased spending versus where we increased.
People suffered than got any benefit, because very few people got any benefit from that particular political area there. In the Middle East thing. Okay, he didn't get us out of war.
Fuck no.
In fact, he dropped more bombs. But he did clear up a few of the situations and brought a lot of our troops home. He was able to do what he did with less.
True. But the Middle East was still in shambles. His claim of bringing peace to the Middle East.
Yeah.
He did no such thing.
No, not even close.
In fact, it could be argued that with his moving of the embassy, he created much more war.
And trusting the Taliban to do what you want them to do instead of what the Taliban's going to do is just a mistake.
I've been saying for a long time, we just got to leave the Taliban be, right? Like we've been trying to get rid of the Taliban since ancient Rome.
Just say, hey, you try to get the rest of the world on board and say, hey, look, we don't agree with your policy of fucking way you're treating women. We're just not going to trade with you. If you can exist in that on your own, like North Korea does, with very little help from outside.
Who has more human rights violations in the world of women than Taliban? Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Now, if the world collectively stopped trading with folks that did like that, they might change their ways a little.
Yeah, but then you might get them doing like Israel.
Maybe we'll find out that that's actually the way to fucking trade to go. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, then they'll end up doing like Israel did. Well, if you do that, then you're being anti-Semitic. If you criticize us at all, you're...
If by some way that they turn out that their fucking culture of life can grow across the globe and become the dominant culture across the globe and wipe out the other cultures that say women should be treated equally, then who am I to say that they're fucking wrong?
Well, that's might is right, and that's not
That's
exactly
democracy. That's socialism. That is everything that we hold and evaluate ourselves as. That is human progress.
I don't know exactly that beheading women for driving is human progress, but I get what you're saying.
Everybody on the planet thinks that's okay, then that is the way humans think, and that is the way it is.
Yeah, if that's across the
Therefore, it's
board.
right.
If it's across the board,
In
that's
that
what we agree on.
situation.
Sure.
Yes. Like I said, if it can grow from its little tiny corner of the world where it's at, in its pockets.
Actually, it's not a quarter. It's about a quarter of the world.
In its pockets of the world, because the majority of the landmass of the world is a little more liberal than that.
No, but as far as the amount of the landmass is irrelevant. The number of people,
yeah. Well, if you can spread that and get that idea to grow, and the other people in the world accept it, then it becomes what is. Then it's not wrong anymore.
Yeah. If
what's right and what's wrong is a construct.
If their ideology became the norm, then it would be a different story. Right?
Completely different story. You're talking about the winners of the war writing history there, and at that point, it's not just words on paper. It's a code of moral conduct. And once that code has been written into our social behavior, then it is just the way it is.
And it's just like
it's why we don't run around punching people in the face. We realized a long time ago that don't work very well for ourselves.
I have like a similar take when it comes to China. Everybody says all this negative shit about China, but you look at what China is actually accomplishing for China, and it's like, well,
It's starting to approach the point where you can call it on a large scale, but it is still on more of a one people scale. We're yet to see what's going to happen when they actually do put their control into these other cultures.
Yeah.
When that happens, we will absolutely see what.
Notice you said when, not if.
Not if. No.
China's to me, China's
already leveraged to take over half the world
at any time,
just under default on loans.
like they out America'd the shit out of America,
Absolutely.
and I got nothing bad to say about it.
No,
and
I'm
honestly,
just wondering where the hell the daggone liberal outcry was for all that shit. We focused so much on our shit, we fucking just ignored.
I've been saying it for years.
Some have, but not to the daggone point that it should have been.
Nobody wanted to listen to me. They were worried about fucking North Korea.
I was preaching that when I was selling knives, trying to make money on in the China's thing. I've got knives from America. I've got my knives from China. You want to bitch about shit coming from fucking China? Stop buying these fucking $10 knives and buy that $150 knife that's actually going to fucking last you. Why is it $150? Because there's actually more fucking metal there.
Yeah, it's a solid fucking piece,
It's denser material. It's a better material. It's balanced molecularly to do what it's supposed to do. This is just a chunk of fucking basic metal.
Yeah, it's for looks. It's going to fall apart. It's going to fall apart rather fast. Pause for a second. I got that.
Yeah, okay. We'll hit the pause button here and get that little.
Hey, everyone out there in podcast land. This is Richard. You may notice that there is a abrupt stop of this episode. Reason being is we realized how long it had been, and it was time to kind of shut her down. We only meant to stop for a break, but then we realized how long it had been. We're like, okay, we need to go ahead and make this a stopping point. So we will continue in our next episode with the 2020 election and the aftermath, let's say for now. And we will see you guys next time. So fuck around and find out and what have you. Bye.